Look what you did, you little jerk.
What's going on, jerk faces? Welcome to a brand new episode of the Circle of Jerks podcast. Today, we're going to be doing a review of the 1951 Samuel Fuller classic, The Steel Helmet. And we're also going to be talking about our top war films, the things that are, what we consider the great war films that we would go back to and watch on film, whether it be documentary or just, film classics. With us today, Andy, welcome back. You're always here. Yep. It doesn't happen without you, buddy.
No, it doesn't.
And Santa Claus back. He is on vacation. Getting his list ready for the Naughty and Nice crew. He's here with us, and our resident Jew, Dan the Man. How are you doing, buddy?
Pretty good. And I'd like to point out, if you jerks can't see it through the camera, Santa's shirt here. Make par, not war. This should be the tagline for every single combat and every single government around the world. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
That is just a prime tagline.
Mm-hmm. I think we would learn more that way, too, than what we've been through.
Yep.
Yeah.
Thinking about war, toss your rifle back in your bag, take out your 5-iron, go play golf.
Yeah. So, I chose the Samuel Fuller classic, The Steel Helmet. I've been actually watching a lot of Samuel Fuller movies recently, and I like his work because I think he's a fascinating dude. I watched the documentary on him that Tim Robbins and Quentin Tarantino did, and just kind of like learning about his philosophy on movies, and like he's a World War II vet. He was a cartoonist, he was a journalist, he did a lot of stuff, and kind of like he hated war, but he hated fascism, he hated communism. He like a lot of the stuff that we would see like today, he fucking hates. Like he doesn't like it. He doesn't like war, and he thought it was senseless. And a lot of his the war films that he did kind of talk about that. We'll talk about that in The Steel Helmet because that's definitely part of it. But he also tackles a lot of the social issues that people think are important today, like racism and racism is definitely one of them. We'll see that in this film. We talked about it in The Shot Corridor, a film that we did on Nocturnal Transmissions. But we did Shot Corridor also dealt with nuclear war and the building up of arms. It dealt with racism. It dealt with PTSD, all sorts of stuff. And this film also kind of deals with some of that as well. So I think it's a great film, and I'm curious if we have a combat vet in Santa Claus. Our Santa Claus is a Vietnam vet, by the way. So, we
our Santa killed Charlie's. Right?
Yeah. And we've got about half a platoon here to support him.
When we get into that subject and you ask,
and we got
on
short
the naughty list.
We have
we have a short round.
We have short round here.
Exactly. And you'll see if you're thinking and haven't
Jew
seen
Bear
this
here,
movie.
right?
Jew, right? The Bear Jew. Hey, got that right. It's not round short. Yes, the Bear Jew is here to comment.
Yeah. So let's dive into the film first before we dive into our favorite war films. What did you guys think of it? Was this your first time coming to The Steel Helmet?
It was for me. I believe me, I have a collection of war films. That's one of my genres that I do enjoy, especially when they're based on a true story. This one I hadn't seen. I haven't seen every.
I know you haven't, but it's rare when I have chosen a film that you haven't seen.
Yes, and I was thrilled to hear that. And right away I went out and got it queued up and watched it. I was pleasantly surprised because of a couple of things. One, we know it's a low-budget film.
Super low budget.
Low budget. And the fact of the period of time even when it was filmed.
So it was a Korean War film at the time that the Korean War had started. It was 1 year into the Korean War.
Right.
So that's also, it was the first Korean War film, and it was also while it was going on. Unlike some of these other war films where the war had already ended. Yeah. So that's kind of rare.
It was rare. It was rare for any era. Yeah.
And because of that, you don't get a real true feeling of what the Korean War was really about. To me, this was more based on an individual's experience.
So this is where like Samuel Fuller's experience in World War II, he brought that into his direction in this film.
Yes, yes, and he did a great job in that respect.
Yeah, because I think he understood what those guys were going through.
Well, nobody understands a war veteran better than another war veteran.
Yeah.
And because of that, he can put in the little subtleties that maybe you may not pick up, maybe you will, but definitely another war vet will pick it up. And
I see
that's
that.
why overall I thought it was a good movie. You know, and it's got a lot of hidden messages within it.
Fuck yeah, it does.
For me, it does quite a bit. Personally, it does a lot. It's surprisingly, when I look at some of the films basically that were done at that time, a lot of them are kind of cheesy.
This didn't feel cheesy at all.
No, not at all. And that's why I liked it, is because it was more truthful to me of the emotional experiences that he had in this movie.
This didn't feel like a raw film in any sort of.
Not glorifying war or battle and things like that, or personal honor.
That's
sort of
why, in those particular types of war movies,
and I like those. I do like those, but like this is a more raw film.
Well, with my experience, and I messed up from my war, but I like more of the honesty that's in a war film than Hollywood.
Yeah.
Because right away, it's like, wow, how can he shoot if he didn't have his hand on the trigger? Right? Or he shot 450 rounds on a 30-round magazine. Those are too obvious for us. And so that kind of, it just, it's Hollywood. But when you stick pretty much to realism or the fact that, that could very well happen. It makes it more hit home, as the old expression. Right. This one almost brought me to tears.
It did.
In a couple of points.
It really did.
In the movie, and that's kind of hard to do these days.
Yeah.
Even though I am getting older.
For a film from 1951. It's tough. It's a tough film.
Yeah. That and the fact that I'm a Vietnam veteran, and of course everybody that's fresh in their minds. If you at least are over a certain age, even though when I think about it, it's been how many years, but
God, it's almost 50 years.
Even so, the baby boomers generation, that's the Vietnam generation.
Exactly.
Okay.
I feel like it was like 20 years ago, but it's like it's not.
Sometimes it's like yesterday to me.
I know you get a certain smell, and it's like you're right back there, right?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Or a particular incident would happen.
Yeah, it's I can only imagine.
And then sometimes even with backfiring of a truck, if it's the right tone, it'll scare me. Because right away
it's ingrained. Absolutely.
Yeah, it's just a reflex.
Yep.
And that doesn't go away, folks. I mean, that stays there forever. And when you're dealing with the movie. And when we get into some of the other ones that we're going to mention that we like or more realism in them, you'll get more reaction out of me. But this one, I pleasantly liked it because really there's not that many, in my opinion.
It doesn't trigger you per se?
Wow. I try not to let anything trigger me these days.
Like I hate to use that term, but you know what I mean. Like it's
so overly used and
it's not only that is I've been in therapy a long time, and I don't need to go back through it again. I pride myself in the ability to be able to cope, as well as to help other veterans that are, of my era get through their issues because we understand each other so well. And it's a growth system. You got to realize now how many years it's been since I was there. I was there in 69 and 70 and Hey, folks, that's a while back.
Yeah, I'm just like, I think it's like for me, like the way that you describe it, it's like you were there yesterday.
Well, you don't forget it.
I know you don't forget it. That's what I'm saying. Is like
Yeah.
when you describe it to me, I'm like, dude, I'm right there with you. Like,
Yeah.
I can see it.
Well, thank God the smells aren't there because
Thank God.
Man, I can tell you stories. Oh man.
Wait, so you were only there for like 2 years, right?
No, 1 term, 1 year.
So you were there for like 1 year, from
1 year.
69 to 70.
Yep.
That was it.
Well, it was in mid years.
Yeah.
It was like towards.
So you were there for like about like 12 months, essentially.
Well, I was there for actually 11 months and a half.
Okay, but so a year
because
essentially.
they were starting to withdraw the Marines.
That's true.
They were starting to Nixon.
Because you were there with the Army, right?
Yeah, I was in the Army, but they, one of my stories is when I was going through boot camp, everybody was going to stateside or Germany when they came out of their
except
school.
For you.
And of course, with all the politics that were going on at the time, everybody wanted to get out of Vietnam. It wasn't one that was very popular.
No.
We know that. And so therefore, there wasn't a whole lot going on because of the politics during that period of time when I was in boot camp.
Right. So you were after like, a lot of like the Tet Offensive. You were after
Tet
that.
Offensive was in 68.
Yeah. So you were after like a lot of like the major conflicts per se. I mean, for the most,
the initial.
No, you had conflicts. I'm not saying you didn't. I'm just saying like of the ones that are famous in
the
history.
the
Gulf
biggest,
of Tonkin,
the biggest
64,
offensive
and then
for the Northern Kong and Gooks. Sorry.
As we'll see in this film that we talk about.
Yeah.
Just you wait.
That was in 68. Okay. But the thing is that the skirmishes were going on all over the place.
I'm not trying to diminish your
and I know that.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying though is the big Tet Offensive was big because it was everywhere.
Right. It was all over the country.
It was organized.
It was an organized offensive.
South as far as
because one of my favorite war films deals with the Tet Offensive, and that what I'm going to talk about. But it's just that's what I'm saying. You had come in after a lot of that the big intensive big conflicts that are like known to history.
Exactly.
Okay. Exactly. That's what I wanted. That's what I wanted.
And unfortunately, most of people just remember just the Tet Offensive.
Right.
But
there's a lot more than that. That's the thing. Is like, dude, it's because people don't want to know about what happened.
The thing was, and the big difference between World War II and Korean War and Vietnam was the fact that in Vietnam, they brought the newscaster right there over your shoulder.
That's fucking bullshit, by the way.
Yeah.
And
because
with no sense, with no censors other than they cut the gore out. They wouldn't, they wouldn't show you a guy getting blown in half.
So because we've Andy and I have talked about it extensively because we're not fans of the media because even back then we think of like Walter Cronkite and like all these guys Edward Murrow like they're the objective journalists. Like they're not. They fucking Walter Cronkite was a communist by the way, which people don't realize. He was not for the American people.
No.
And it's like, so of course, and they were biased back in like the 40s.
Right.
It's just like they happened to sort of like the country at the same time. Like they didn't like fascism. So it just kind of happened to tie in that they seemed like they were Americans, but they weren't.
No.
And it's like there was never a time of objective journalism that they were like for the soldiers.
Right.
And when you bring them on to like the battlefield where they don't know what's going on and they're gonna provide their own narrative. Right. There's always been like, it's not about like telling the story as it is. It's like, we have to tell a narrative. We have to tell something special.
Right, subjectivity.
Well, you got to understand, they don't want to go against the feelings of the United States at the time, which was anti-war. Mm-hmm. So they're not gonna turn around and like you'll never see where we went in and saved a whole village.
And like I said, I'm not even saying that like I'm for the Vietnam War because I don't think that it was like I don't think that we should have been there. But at the same time, that's not your fault as a soldier. You're doing your job.
Yeah, right.
The problem is with the politicians and the people above you that are directing the like, oh well, we need to have our soldiers in Vietnam for some reason. That's their fault, not your fault. But the people that are the blame is laid at is at your feet, which is bullshit.
And that, it works on the psychic of us quite a bit.
And that's why I say that's bullshit. That's not fair to you.
And to give a real good feeling, which Korean War didn't have it, even though I feel that the Korean War, even though it was a short
everybody
period
forgot
of time,
that shit.
Yeah,
that
it
was
is
like
forgotten.
a distant memory.
People don't realize it happened, and even shows and movies about it that aren't explicitly saying this was filmed about the Korean War. MASH is the perfect example. MASH, because it was shown, everyone assumes that the movie and the famous TV show MASH was focused on and set in the Vietnam War.
Yeah,
no,
the film
it was set in the Korean War.
And the film that we're talking about is like, this is one that I can't think of it, like outside of MASH. I can't think of any other Korean War film. They're forgotten.
And that's why when you mentioned the steel helmet, I was interested, because I am very interested in any of the Korean War
as am
movies.
And there's very little of them, very few, like we said.
Right,
few and far
because
between.
there's very few of them.
Yeah.
And my brother-in-law was in the Korean War. And we talked a little bit about it, but he didn't want to talk.
My grandfather was in the Korean War. He was in the Navy.
Yeah.
Well, you really make me feel.
Yeah. No, my dad was in Korea during the early Vietnam War years, but he was part of the Korean War cleanup effort.
Right. He was about 20 years older than you, though, Darrell.
Right.
So don't feel bad.
No, I know. I know.
Both my parents were born during the Korean War.
Yep.
Yeah, my dad 51.
So you're like your grandparents were probably within this conflict.
Yeah, my grandparents lived through it.
Sure.
Yeah. Which side?
Huh? Oh, the north, obviously.
Right, exactly.
Get out of here, Red.
They snuck out. Yeah, right.
I'm just teasing you. You know I love you.
Were they both born and grew up in Seoul? Your parents?
My dad, but my sister. Well, I mean, not my sister, but my mother. Yeah, she grew up like kind of in the countryside.
Okay.
But like but when she got old enough, she like moved to Seoul.
Okay.
That's when my
that's more like south. Like when it comes that's like it's about as South Korea as you can get.
Say that again. Seoul? No, isn't Seoul?
Seoul's in the middle.
Seoul is like in the middle.
I think of Seoul geographically, but that's just offset as
but you're not,
it's like 100 miles from the border. It's the biggest city
of. But that's still like that. You're still fairly far away for like as far as like when because the thing is like 100 miles for us is like nothing because that's but fair. Like for them. Their country is not as big as ours, so that's pretty far.
Obviously, that's true.
So that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying.
I just know from reference, the one reference I have from firsthand stories.
I'm not trying to be glib. That's what I'm saying.
No, I get it. And the 100 miles might be off, maybe be only 50, but I'd have to check that. You might know. But my dad was stationed in Daejeon, which is 30 or 40 miles south of Seoul. So that's really that's what I thought of as the middle of the country, the way he's described it, because he said, it was about equidistant from the DMZ versus Busan.
The entire peninsula, Seoul is like really, it's more towards like the middle.
In the entire peninsula. That's true. I was thinking of in South Korea, how close it is basically to the DMZ. Yes, in terms of the peninsula, you're absolutely right. That's why I thought of, because it's more or less North Korea and South Korea are kind of similar sizes. That's why I figured Seoul, in the middle of the peninsula, but from South Korea's point of view, it's the most northern city. Okay. At least major city.
All right. Yes. Well, like I said,
Busan's in the south. Daejeon is smaller, and there's
But compared to us, that's a long distance.
Fair. I'd want to check that too, and we can have our jerks, check and comment as we're speaking live.
If you want to piss on me, that's fine. I don't really. Care.
I could throw the rock across the border from Seoul. No, not quite, but
But is it like Andy and Dan? Like, is this your first time coming to this film, The Steel Helmet?
Absolutely. When you mentioned it, I hadn't even heard of it, to be honest. So I was also, just like Darrell said.
We watched it today, actually.
We did. I could think of one and only one Korean War movie, and that was MASH. That was it. Yep.
This is your first time coming to this?
Yeah. And same thing. The only one is MASH, but the only the only reference to the Korean War in a movie that I can remember is in Prophecy.
I don't think I've even seen that.
It's basically God coming down, like the Antichrist is like in this the soul of like this dead colonel,
Mhm.
and he fought in Korea.
Okay.
And like the soul that possesses this little girl, and then like she would start talking about like the Korean War and talking about like Incheon Valley and things like that.
Get the fuck out of here! I've never even
Yeah.
heard of this.
It's like,
film.
it's kind of like a horror movie.
I would love. It sounds
Christopher
awesome.
Walken's in it. He plays the
Get the fuck out
he
of here!
plays
All
the
right,
Archangel Gabriel.
awesome.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I'm down for this.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is kind of like a horror movie, so just be warned.
Maybe that's why he made a cameo in South Park as Gabriel. I always wondered about that. If that
Maybe,
was a
yeah.
reference to any
Yeah,
movie
prophecy,
or
yeah.
actual.
Yeah.
Maybe it was.
We'll have to
Probably was.
do this, or maybe we'll should have a cut above. Our friends from a cut above like talk about this, and we'll come on and talk about it.
Yeah, the prophecy.
Well, actually, I'm unprepared, but in many ways, I didn't do a whole bunch of research here. But there's another real Korean movie, but it's not. It's more Hollywood, and that's with John Wayne.
Well, so that funny you should say that,
Yeah.
because the director, they were wanting, because I think this is why the reason the movie was so low budget is because they wanted John Wayne in the lead. He's like, no fucking way.
Yeah.
They also wanted Larry Parks, who was a
Right.
known communist. He's
Right.
like, no fucking
No
way.
way.
I will quit this
Yeah.
production if you
Mhm.
have Larry Parks as the lead.
Mhm.
And he chose Gene Evans, who he actually used up. I think this is his first like big role.
Mhm.
He may have done some stuff before this film, but this is his first lead. He was also used in Shock Corridor. He was like one of the characters in that movie
Mhm.
that Samuel Fuller did, and he is top notch. I love
Right.
Zach as a character.
Yeah.
Like, he's cool. But yeah, they did want John Wayne for this film. Like, what did you
Well,
think?
I apologize to our audience that I can't recall the name of the movie, but it's where, and also you'll notice that
Is it Green Berets, or is that a World War II
no,
film?
Green Berets, World War II.
Okay.
No, this is the one where he's a pilot, and this is when the Americans came over to the Korea and fought with them.
I'll find that, because I do
And-
want to watch that, because
Yeah.
I love John Wayne.
It's a good movie, but it's
It's
not really based.
it's not like this. It's
No,
it's
no,
a like
no.
it's
It's
a
a
very
Hollywood,
Hollywood
It's
like
a Hollywood
raw
production,
film.
right?
And just
right.
knowing, from what you said
The
about the
typical
director,
cheesy type of thing that you were talking
Right.
about. A little
but
corny.
what Rob was saying about the director, I understand why he didn't want John Wayne, because I think John Wayne is a little too much of like the
He was an A.
Yeah.
well, no, he was a name, but then also he's too. I think because he's done other war movies and they're more like the raw America's number one kind of.
Because that's not what he was.
feel.
That's
but
not what he was going
in the
for.
Exactly, the director wasn't going for that
Right.
kind of feel for the movie.
Well, when you watch this movie and you see the main character, the sergeant that's playing
Well, I mean,
this
just
part,
even
he
the-
wouldn't fit there.
right, and
No.
even in like the opening scene,
Right.
like no way John Wayne could.
No way
No.
John
Yeah.
Wayne's going to get shot in the head.
Exactly. No way. Yeah, no way
Right.
that John Wayne is gonna get
and tied behind his back.
tied up with
Yeah.
with his platoon and like get executed. No
No.
way. The Duke.
John
no
Wayne is
way.
the one who hog ties other guys and throws them on the back of his horse.
Exactly,
Right?
exactly.
Okay, yeah,
Yeah.
No, there's a real funny comment that we used even when I was in boot camp.
Mhm.
And this is another, but this is a World War II movie
Uh-huh.
where John Wayne comes out and he's carrying 230 caliber machine guns,
Yeah, right.
one on each side.
And he's just
dusting
spraying them off.
everybody.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Because that was used in our training in boot camp. It says, "Okay, you guys, there's no John Wayne here."
Yeah.
right.
And it's like, it's like Full Metal Jacket. Joker's always doing the John Wayne impersonation. It's like,
yeah.
Is
hey
it
there,
May?
Pilgrim.
Yeah,
It's like,
exactly.
Is it May?
But in getting back to what we were talking about, the differences between the wars, and even if we go back in history, and we look at the various from World War II, or even go back further
Mhm.
into Civil Wars and all the wars that we have participated in, they're all different. Every one of them is different.
Very
Yeah,
different.
Very different.
And one of the things that I found very interesting was the fact, like, World War II heroes to me are on a pedestal.
those are like the
Greatest
like,
generation
that's
for a
the
reason,
gold
right.
standard
Yeah,
of
exactly,
soldiers.
exactly.
Well, first of all, no one talks about World War I veterans.
Right.
No, they don't.
No, they don't.
And
The
the
World
only-
War II veterans
but
were the
you have-
heroes during and after. The
That's
other
right.
wars, you can't say that for. They were either, iffy during and forgotten after, or considered, not enemies, but just considered personas non
I think
grata
of like
after.
the veterans before World War II. Like no one talks about those guys.
Well, the thing is
Yeah.
there's been some movies done, and even a recent one that was done on World War One here, not too far back.
One of the great documentaries was done recently on World War
right.
One.
Talking about,
what was it?
19
17?
Oh,
No,
1917.
yeah,
1917.
1917.
That was
But
a
like
good one.
they shall
But-
not grow old was
But
really great.
Yes.
here's what I've gotten out of that particular movie, and some of them that I've seen about World War II. I mean World War One.
Mhm.
Is basically World War One was the trench war.
That's
You're right.
Okay.
that era's Vietnam.
No.
The way that they were treated afterwards.
Oh, the way they were
Yeah.
treated afterwards, yeah. Well,
That's what
there was no veteran rights. There was nothing for the
Yeah.
veteran.
And even the movies they've made off of World War One, the two that I can think of that these are the World War One movies, Gallipoli and Tora Tora Tora. Okay, those two are you're down in the trenches and you're still in the trenches and you're slogging through the trenches and you're coming up to shoot a little bit and you're back in the trenches and 90% of the
Right.
film is in the trenches.
Right.
Okay. And
Well,
that's both physically and emotionally how these guys were treated. They were down in the dumps even when they got out of the trenches for those
Yeah.
lucky enough to come home.
They were spit on when they
were
came
spit
home.
on.
They were like they were.
Absolutely.
Well, that and
Absolutely.
there was a lot of them that didn't live
If-
that long
well,
because
here-
the
here-
medical hadn't gotten to the
No,
point
but
to
here's
save a lot. Of them.
here's the
Right.
problem though. If you didn't go to war, you were given a white feather, like, oh, you're a pansy.
Yeah.
But when you went to war and you came back, you were treated just the same. You were
Yeah.
spit on. It's like,
You forget you
Yeah.
yeah,
because they don't want to remember it.
yeah,
Mhm.
You know, they-
because it was a bullshit war.
that's
Yeah.
right. That's right.
Yep.
But the what I was getting at was that when World War II, now they came back as giant heroes, which they
Bingo,
are.
and they are heroes.
And parades. And
Just as
all-
World War One veterans should have treated
Yeah.
as heroes.
Yeah.
Every veteran should be treated that
Yeah.
way, regardless if it's in a war zone.
The
or not.
politicians that are behind the wars, that's a different story.
Well, let's not go there.
Yeah.
The thing is that when you get into the latest conflicts, it's like how many people are patting the guy on the back that was just in Desert
Fallujah.
Storm.
Yeah,
Fallujah.
Fuck
Yeah.
no, they don't
Yeah.
care about those
You
people.
know, and even recently, you
Mhm.
know, although any veteran enough, I know he's a veteran. I come up and I shake his hand and I thank him for his service
Yeah.
because I never got that.
Right.
Mhm.
Well,
So-
we actually it's funny. We were just Andy and I were just talking about this story of like, you had come on and talk about like, when you see a Vietnam vet, it's like, don't just say thank them for their service, but welcome them home.
That's right.
Yeah.
And Andy
Yeah.
he like literally just had this
Yeah.
this encounter at an airport. Like, his dad was wearing his Vietnam vet hat, and it's like, hey, next time you see a Vietnam vet, like, don't just say like, thank you for your service. Welcome them home, because they
Right.
didn't get that.
Mhm.
And speaking from my own
Which we thank you for.
experience,
Yeah, which we
uh,
We do
thank you
wholeheartedly
for
thank you for your service. Yeah.
one.
but you see, that means
Yeah,
a lot to me.
I know, but I'm
Very
just saying,
much so.
because we are friends with you. Like, it's just
Yeah.
like that brings it home for us,
Yeah.
and so like that's what we do.
Well, you guys know me.
Yeah.
And most of the time, and I'm not doing it now, but I always wear my Vietnam hat.
I know you do.
And I do it, and people say, well, why?
You're not pro Vietnam War.
Yeah,
you're
it was
See,
50
here's-
years ago. It
No,
was
but
blah, blah,
here's what
blah,
I
this
tell
or
them
that.
all. I says, I wear the hat for the guys who can't.
Mhm.
bingo.
Yeah.
Yeah,
exactly.
That's why I don't run around going, yeah, hey, I'm a Vietnam veteran.
Right.
That's not the issue.
Right.
I do it for the guys that can't.
Mhm.
And the guys that we lost over there
Yep.
Mhm.
that are forgotten.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we've talked enough about Vietnam, really. But
I know, but it's just
but I wanted.
But you also made the point that you can't, on one side, talk enough about it because we can't ever be reminded too much about how people should have been treated, how veterans should have been treated. Yeah.
right.
To remind people,
Yeah.
it doesn't have to be drilled in, but it should be reminded at least regularly.
Mhm.
It's the thing is, it's a job that nobody wants to do.
No.
Mhm.
You know, and even though now we have a volunteer service, it's nothing like it was before.
Right.
Completely different
Yeah.
era
It's
when
a
you don't have
completely
draft
Draft
on.
and all that.
Yeah, it's amazing. I've had my grandson go in and come out,
Mhm.
and when I hear what he's going through, they pay for everything.
Yeah.
And
It's insane.
What?
Yeah.
He goes, yeah. He says, although they're getting good money. I mean, the volunteer system, they make, God, I don't remember what it was now, but it's based on rank, like it did even when I was in.
Mhm.
But when I was in, I was making $115 a month.
Jesus
Jeez.
fucking
No.
Christ.
Yeah. But everything's furnished.
Right.
Room, board, food.
Still,
If you get the
so
food.
Yeah.
because
But what I'm saying
Whoa.
is, like now, see, they go in and they get, like $300 or $400, depending on their rank,
Right.
per month. But yet they got to pay for their clothes, they got to pay for their food,
Mm-hmm.
and it's almost like
So-
being in a civilian situation that you're working and you're paying for
I think
it.
I came in at the right time because I was making about $6,000 a month.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But see, that's
So-
what I'm getting at, because
That's pretty good.
you were in the volunteer system, wasn't it?
That is true.
Yeah, that's right.
So, because I was making not only because I lived off base, so I was getting money off of that.
Mhm.
I was getting so I actually I put money on the table because they wanted
you
me
left
to
money on the
become.
table.
I left money on the table because
Oh, they wanted
they
you for a
wanted me to
submarine?
become like a submarine technician
Yeah.
because
Those are
because
tough.
I aced my test. Like I was like I got
You were
100%
smart.
on the yeah. not in the Fredo smart. I was actually smart. Like yeah. So
And he's the right height.
yeah.
Right, yeah, exactly.
I aced my ASVAB. They wanted me to become a nuclear technician on the sub,
Wow.
Nice.
and that's like they were like, we'll give you $150,000, as a bonus. And I was like,
and you'll glow at night.
yeah,
and I was
right.
like,
yeah.
I was like, I'm not going on a fucking sub, dude.
the
That's
older
not gonna
children
happen.
who you'll ever have,
That's-
you'll adopt. Yeah,
I'll tell you,
Sorry.
that's tough.
Yeah.
But I was like that. I was,
You're a
but like I said,
sardine
I had to
can, yeah.
think about it because
Yeah.
that's a lot of money.
Yeah.
Mm.
Especially back in 2004 when I was joining, I was like, that's a lot of money.
Yeah.
I really had to think about that. I was like, it took me. I thought I was like, can you give me about a week to think about that?
Yeah.
Because I don't want to be on a sub, but that's a lot of money to give up.
I would ask for more.
And they're like, yeah, you take your time and think about it. I was like, okay, and I was like, no, I can't be on a sub. No, I can't go with 100 people go down and 50 couples come up. I'm sorry. It's just it can't happen. It's like.
Yeah, the odd man out is paired with a sardine. Oh no, sorry.
Yeah.
The biggest difference, though, and I always tease all my veterans that are in the other services, obviously.
That's a good comment. I like that.
I said, at least you get 3 good squares. You guys eat.
Mhm.
You and the Air Force eat the best.
Well, hell,
Oh.
it's funny, because our main character in this movie, Zach, is like, hey, when you're in the air, it's like you get shot down and then you fall down and then you die.
right.
If you're in the boat, you you get shot and then you get drowned. At least if you're in the infantry, you just get shot and that's it.
That's right. Yeah.
Actually, my nephew, he just joined up with the Air Force.
Oh, did he?
Yeah.
See, the Air Force these days, and what I know, is
Jesus Christ.
Air Force.
The chair
are,
force.
Chair
Got
Force,
it.
yeah.
No, Air Force are very smart.
They are
They're
smart.
very smart
I agree.
and hard to get rank.
It's really hard.
To get rank.
Yeah, my cousin.
When I was a Spec 4, which is special grade
yeah.
for corporal.
specialist here.
Yeah, and because I was in communications.
That's right.
And one of the stories is one of the COs had to go into Long Bin at the air base,
Mm-hmm.
okay, for a meeting with the brass. And so they don't go anywhere without a commo guy, so they can stay in touch off the radio.
Right.
And I just happened to be in the wrong place at the wrong time. And I was
So
standing
you got to
there.
log your 100-pound radio on your back.
And he looked at,
while he was
no,
there.
we took a Jeep.
Oh, okay.
And so he goes, hey, Rob, come on. Yes, sir. And he says, we're going to Long Bin. And I go, or no, we're going to Saigon. And I go, okay.
Mhm.
So I get in, I drive the Jeep, and we get to the air base.
Mhm.
Okay, so we get to the air base, and he looks and he goes, you're a specialist, right? Yes, sir. He says, then you can go to the non-com over here.
Yeah.
I says, well, that's a treat, So I went in there, carpet on the floor. Now this is over there,
Right.
okay? Carpet on the floor, a table with tablecloth.
Jesus Christ.
Fancy.
Mm.
I mean, plates, real plates,
right.
Real
Yeah,
plate?
real
Oh,
plate.
shit.
silverware.
Oh,
Oh
God.
my God, you're just being spoiled.
Yeah.
Oh, I couldn't believe it. I left and I was pissed. I was, because of the way we were living. You know.
Yeah.
And so what's funny is when he dropped me off, he says, "Hey, go have a good steak." He says, "and I'll meet you back here." Yes, sir. And so this was my experience. Now, this is the first time. At that time, I had been into Saigon.
Mhm.
Okay, I was stationed at the ammo depot in Long Binh, which was another 40 minutes away.
Mhm.
And so, to make a long story short, I get in there. I mean, this is like being at home in a restaurant,
Yeah.
you know.
Mhm.
And so then he gives me a menu. I go, "We got a menu?" And I go, "Oh man, it's porterhouse steak. That's what I want."
Yeah.
So I ordered me a porterhouse steak, potato, veggies. Oh man, I was living like a king.
Mhm.
Hell yeah, you were.
Yeah.
So I scarfed that down like you wouldn't believe.
Mhm.
We had pretty decent food where I was at.
Mhm.
Now, when we were in the bush, that's a whole different story.
Right.
Right.
Then it's World War II rations.
Yeah. K rations.
Yeah,
Good
K
stuff,
rations. World War II marked on it.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yummy.
Oh yes, they never expire.
Yeah.
They're like
But
twins.
you had-
They'll
you had-
survive the bomb. They'll
You had
survive
Buku
nuclear
Chow.
winter.
Oh,
Yeah, right.
yeah. You read the label and it says, first you open the can, it goes, "Oh, gravy," and then you read the can, canned ham. Ooh, maybe not.
Yeah.
But anyway,
May include real food, may
Yeah,
not.
no, beans and franks were the biggest if you could get there in time
Mhm.
to grab them. But anyway, so the brass comes back in, and we're in the Jeep and we're driving back, and he goes, "Hey, Rob, how did you like the food?"
Mhm.
And grinning because he knew.
Yeah.
He
It's like
knew.
fucker.
Yeah, he knew. and literally under my breath, I was pissed.
Mhm.
You know, I'm saying, these mothers, man, they're eating like kings, and we get leftovers.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
in comparison, or the
Yeah.
poor
Of course,
guy.
yeah.
Or the poor guy out in the bush, it's eating out of damn World War II
Yeah.
cans.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I was a little bit ticked, but enjoyed the meal. Believe me.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But there was all kinds of experiences there that really kind of warps your head. But this movie, I was pleasantly surprised with, because again, it followed more believable.
It
Writing.
felt real, right?
It felt real.
Yeah.
It felt believable.
Mhm.
You know, not like I said. There's even a Jimmy Stewart movie for the Korean War as well.
Is there?
There is a couple of them.
Okay.
around.
Okay.
All right. I haven't seen that one.
Yeah, that one's good
Yeah.
too. But it's mainly it's dealing with their Air Force.
Yeah.
Oh.
He did a
Jimmy
lot of
Stewart-
well,
Jimmy
because he
Stewart
was in the Air Force.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, that's why.
Yeah, well he was.
Was
almost
it
all of
reservist?
his
He knew.
war
From
films
World
were
War
Air
II
Force.
to Korea to Vietnam. He
Vietnam.
went through into Vietnam too. Like,
No, not Stewart didn't.
Yeah, he did. He flew.
You
He
flew
flew
now?
missions in Vietnam.
That must have been the very beginning then.
Very beginning. Yeah.
probably,
I mean, like because
Must have been like as an advisor.
but he flew
Probably.
missions in Vietnam.
Whoa, I didn't
yeah,
know
he
that.
did.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Which is like that's why I was like he's a badass.
Oh, he's one of my favorite actors.
Yeah.
He really is.
He's that's the guy I would love to have like a beer with, just because like he's awesome.
I'd love to sit down and talk to him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a few of them like that I would love.
Lee
to.
Marvin, Jimmy Stewart,
I've met Lee
Robert
Marvin.
Mitchum.
Yeah?
would
Met
be
Lee
like
Marvin?
guys.
Yeah, I met
Yeah.
Lee
I-
Marvin.
Yeah.
Fucking bastard. He met Lee
Yeah.
Marvin.
Yeah.
God damn it.
Yeah.
I was working the Hollywood Bowl.
I know you were.
Yeah.
Right.
And they always have stars that come in,
Yeah.
for their
Right,
concerts
right,
and
yeah.
stuff. And so I was working near the front
Mhm.
as a security guard,
Mhm.
and I see him walking down the aisle looking for a seat, and I went.
Yeah.
At first, I couldn't talk,
Yeah.
Right.
and then he comes up, and I go, "Sir, can I help you?" Like that. I didn't say
Yeah.
Mr. Marvin.
yeah.
Right.
I couldn't get that out.
I know. I imagine.
And then in his voice and everything else, he goes, "Yes," and he shows me his ticket, and
Yeah.
then I showed him to his seat,
Mhm.
and
Ah,
then
he's-
without getting too Hollywood geeky on him,
Yeah.
I just said, "I really like your work,"
Yeah.
and that's all I
Mhm.
said.
So
And turned around and went away.
I love me Lee Marvin.
Yeah.
He's one of my favorites.
And my mother, she was a nurse, and she worked with when John Wayne came in,
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
because he came in. He had
With
a
his
lot of
cancer
lung-
stuff.
with
Yeah.
his
Yep.
cancers for
Oh,
his
yeah.
lungs, yeah,
Mm.
Yeah.
because of smoking.
Yeah.
And my mom said that with the gurney he hanged over each end.
Whoa.
Jesus.
Yeah.
Christ.
Yeah. He was a
He
tall
was a
guy.
tall
People
dude,
forget
yeah.
that. Oh yeah.
He was a big man.
Yeah.
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 He was like 6'5" or something like that.
Yeah, I think it was
Yeah.
somewhere. in
And
there.
for them, that's like 7 feet. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
1950s
He's
and
Shaq
seven.
and
Right.
back then.
Absolutely.
But this movie,
Him and Arness, were always hanging off of any bed or gurney that they were
Yeah.
on. Yeah,
him and his brother.
James, right? Arness and Graves. Yeah,
That's right.
Yeah, Arness though was legitimately 6'7", or maybe even a tiny bit more.
Right.
Yeah, Graves was probably like weighing 6'5" ish.
Yeah. Big man.
Yeah.
So you really like this movie, right? Like,
Yeah,
what do you think about the characters? Like, what did you think about like our Zach, Gene Evans as Iron Mike Zach? What did you think about the Doc, Buddha Head, Sergeant Tanaka?
Yeah.
And because one of my favorite characters, I loved Short Round.
Yeah.
He was awesome.
Well,
The original Short Round. Yeah.
Because like
For those of you who are thinking of Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom, this is where Spielberg got the Short Round character.
So
from.
here's the thing, because
the name.
so the movie starts with like you just see the title card of the steel helmet and like the bullet through the helmet,
Right.
and then you see Gene Kelly's character Zach pop up, and I say okay. But then, like, you realize he is part of this crew that has been hogtied and shot to death.
Right.
Executed.
He's the one that has
Right.
survived,
Right.
and he's crawling through. And then all of a sudden, you see this Asian kid coming through. It's like, oh fuck, with a rifle.
Mhm.
And it's like, oh, he's
gonna
dead.
finish
Yeah.
the job. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you have the music to say that, and then no, it's not that, and that's not the case
Yeah, it's just some kid.
because he pulls a knife and uncuts him. It's like, and then like the tense music stops all of a
yeah.
sudden. It's like, okay. Oh fuck,
Yeah.
we're good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's like that's kind of like where the story starts.
I had a problem with that scene.
Well, okay,
tell,
well, tell
do
me.
tell.
How so?
Tell
Yeah.
me.
Yeah,
well,
do
it's
tell.
because when you listen to the way they explained it and everything else was very good,
Mhm.
and not only that, it's very true. The difference is in Vietnam they didn't, they didn't shoot you usually.
Mhm.
If you were laying there wounded or anything else, they cut you up.
Mhm.
They
Mhm.
butcher you
Yeah.
and hang you on a stick or anything they can do
Right.
just to freak with you. And sorry, I don't want to get too graphic. I'm sorry.
No,
but-
you be as
Yeah.
graphic as you
But
need
what
to
I'm
be.
saying is when that scene came up before the kid cut his ties,
Mhm.
right away in my brain goes, "Oh man, he's going to come up and hack him
he's
up."
gonna fuck him up.
Yeah, he's going to hack him up. So that one kind of got me on the edge, which also made me concentrate on the movie.
Right.
Yeah.
And for me too, because that's a tense scene.
Well, it is a tense scene.
That's the idea. It's intentionally there to fool you based on
intentionally
the
to do
music.
that.
Yep.
Yeah, and that's why when I look back at the movie and watch it again, then I can appreciate it.
Yeah.
But at the first time through,
It's
it,
rough.
it was kind of tough at first because
I'm sure that like, it triggered you. I hate to use that term again, but like it definitely probably brought some stuff back
well,
to you.
it brought some factors in
Yeah.
because of even seeing his helmet,
Mhm.
because that's another one too.
Right.
Yeah.
The helmets a lot of people don't know are heavy.
Yeah.
Okay, they're
Yeah.
a steel pot.
The steel pot. Yeah.
And then there's a liner that goes inside that.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well,
And
and
so-
he got lucky because
It
they were
bounced
all
around him.
Right.
it went through the helmet, but it ricocheted and
Around the
it
liner.
bounced around and it came out through the side and it left that huge
Right.
Scar here, yeah.
across
Right.
his head.
Right. Which is enough to make you fill your pants anyway.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
When you get into shrapnel or anything else, man, you can
Yeah.
hear it hit that helmet.
Ah.
Ding, ding, ding.
Yeah.
Fuck that.
And then you just go, okay, I'm all here.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Right. Spectacles,
I would have shit,
testicles,
I would
wallet,
have
and
shit
keys.
my
Yeah,
fucking
right.
pants.
Yeah.
That's
Well-
fucking scary.
It is, but you learn how to turn it off.
Yeah.
You see, and
Well, and
that's
he's
the part that a lot of people don't understand.
and this is not his first rodeo. He was in
Oh, no.
Normandy. Our character
Our
was in
character,
Normandy.
right. So he's been through this.
Yeah.
And you can tell even the way that he did his activities in the movie.
Mhm.
You could see, okay, he's the one that's got the experience.
Hey, you ballerinas.
because
Yeah.
that's how you stay alive.
Yeah.
Yeah, he
You
knew how
see-
to stay alive,
He knew how to stay alive, and that's the guy you want to latch on to.
Mhm.
which is what all the characters want. They wanted to be
Yeah.
with this guy because
Mhm.
they knew that he was going
He-
to keep
he
them
was-
alive.
Right, because he had the experience. He knew what to do.
Even that stupid ass lieutenant
Well,
Yeah.
Driscoll,
There-
fucking.
there's a lot
dickhead.
of stories about lieutenants.
Fuck that guy.
Yeah.
Oh,
Well-
can I like after like all the activities like can we trade helmets? Like fuck you, man.
Yeah. Right.
But look what happened at the end.
Yeah.
So okay,
You know?
we'll talk about that. We'll talk about it at the end because was that Driscoll's helmet that he traded with, or was that
Short
short
rounds.
rounds?
No.
It's unclear, and we were thinking about that. I think
See,
it's supposed to be
I
unclear.
recalled that it it was his helmet, the one that had the bullet in it, is the one.
So,
he
you know,
gave
No,
to
but
the-
on the soldier's grave, was
Yeah.
it short
I think that's
rounds?
short rounds. Great.
We all figured that was short rounds.
That's how I saw it, but
That
I
didn't-
could
that
be
didn't
I could be
occur to
wrong.
me. Yeah, that didn't occur to me because I didn't.
I'd have to pay attention to that too,
Because
I took it as he gave it to the lieutenant.
He
Right.
never
That's my
respected
opinion.
the lieutenant though. But
he
he
did towards
respected.
the end.
But he
Yeah.
respected short
Maybe
rounds.
he did.
No, I think he
You think he respected
him
Lieutenant at the
towards
end?
the end.
Do you think so?
I think
Okay.
I think the lieutenant earned his respect,
Right.
and so
Oh,
that's why. And that's why he's
Because if you remember the battle,
I thought that was short rounds grave, by the way, because he also had a
No,
rifle.
That's the
and a
point. It was
helmet.
unclear.
But then,
It's
like,
the point was there was more than one grave there.
yeah,
right.
True.
That's why it was
were
unclear. I think it was
several of
supposed to be unclear.
But the way I took it, because the way you got to remember the end of that battle.
yeah.
It was the lieutenant that came to the front to hold him off.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Like I said, I
And
think
so
it could be both.
You could have said it the other way. I think it makes more pundit thinking that he gave it to the lieutenant.
Yeah. But anyways, like
Because
what?
at the beginning, the lieutenant was arrogant.
His dumbass.
He was a dumbass,
Mhm.
right? And nobody liked him.
Nobody
Okay.
liked. Even his
But
own platoon didn't
If
like
you
him.
remember some of the conversations throughout the movie was, well, you got to earn my respect.
Yeah.
True.
Okay? And so the way I interpreted it was that at the end, because of what he did at the end to support people to survive,
Mm-hmm.
he stepped up
Yeah, as a leader, he stepped up.
as a
Got it.
leader, like he should.
So okay, I get that.
I took it as, okay, you deserve. It was like him saying, okay, buddy, you're here.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And gave him the helmet as respect that, hey, you stepped up.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
Fair
I
enough.
like I said,
Yeah.
I agree.
That's how I interpret it.
That's how I interpret
See,
it. as well.
I agree with you guys. I see what you're saying. I just think that, like, to me, it makes more sense that it's short rounds helmet.
Well, that's because if everybody, and believe me, I almost got to tears too.
Dude,
Short
I
round.
cried a little bit
Yeah,
when
I
that
mean,
happened.
That hurt. That's war,
Yeah.
and you can't, I look at it, and the way that got me through a lot of my tough scrapes that I was in was that it's all up to God, in my brains.
Yeah.
There was 3 incidences I should have been dead, and I don't know why. I do now, and I firmly
Well,
believe.
and hell, this, like, in this movie, Zach should have been dead,
That's right.
but he's alive.
Yeah.
That's right.
For some
But
fucking
see,
reason,
they
but
kept
he's
him
alive.
alive so that these other guys could live
Yeah.
and help them through their time.
So,
Right.
because
And basically, that's the way things went. Even in Vietnam, when we had newbies, we called them newbies.
yeah,
We-
well,
we-
yeah,
We get a
that's-
fresh guy come over, and it's like I can remember the first day I landed in Vietnam. Vague it as if I did it yesterday. Because I flew into Benoit Airport, which is a little airport on the edge of Long Binh, and they call it 90th Replacement Center, is right next door, and that's where everybody goes through, is this 90th Replacement Center, and then you're deployed out to wherever they need you. So anyway, when the plane landed, because I was in the era where I didn't come over on a boat, thank God, we flew.
Right.
So when we flew in, we got in a rocket attack.
Oh,
Jesus
wow.
fucking Christ.
So here's my experience. I get in the country, right? And first thing they do is they open the door of the plane, and it smells like you just stepped into the trash.
Mm.
Like you go to the dump.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know that smell?
Oh yeah.
That's what
Yeah,
it
that
smells
sour
like.
kind
Jesus
That's what it
Christ.
smells like. That's the first thing.
Welcome to war. Yeah.
And then as we're getting off,
Now I know what you don't like trash smell.
Right.
that's right.
Yeah.
That's right. I don't.
Mhm.
And the other one that gets me too is the toilet.
I know you don't. I
Yeah.
fuck that.
That's
Those
another
latrines,
one.
Yeah.
Because you don't have those over there.
Yeah.
So anyway, when we landed, we got off the plane and they're going to get us onto a bus. And then they said, no, we're not going to take the bus. It's too much of a target. So they're going to put us into a deuce and a half
Mhm.
and run us over to
Mhm.
90th. Well, there's about 190 some guys on this plane. And so we're all piling into these deuce and a halves. And meanwhile, here comes the rocket attack. Boom, they're popping in
Jesus.
and they're blowing up the runway.
Mm.
Fuck that.
I don't know they're blowing up the runway. All I hear is this boom.
Yeah.
I'm out of here.
And so you crap your pants and you run to the truck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that was my first
Experience.
experience when I got to
Jesus
Vietnam.
Christ.
So the first thing that ran through my brain was, hey, I'm not going to live through this. was the first thing I thought of. I says, man, I got a full 12 months to go,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and that was my very first experience, and I just went, holy shit, you know. But that's how I was introduced.
Wow.
And I think that's like with like some of the characters in this movie, because outside of Tanaka and Zach and the lieutenant and hell, even Short Round's probably dealt with a whole bunch of shit that we don't know about.
Right. He's going to be a little bit thicker skinned than the rest.
But like you had like, you know, the all those other characters like that ended up outside of like the bald-headed guy. Mm-hmm. They're all newbies that ended up dead.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And like, that's where you want to attach to someone you know that's been there and experienced.
Right.
Yeah, and it's like the only one that was of any real experience that like wasn't like a jackass was Tanaka out of that like platoon that like they meet up with.
Right.
But like Zach, the Doc, Short Round, those are the guys you want to stick around with because they're survivors.
That's right.
And that's just like, and that's why like it really hurt me when Short Round died.
Yeah,
it really hurt me.
Yeah, it bothered me too because the way he was portrayed in this movie, you know, we're all pulling for him. You know, and we thought, well, he's finally with somebody that he's going to be safe with.
His whole family is dead. Yeah. He was like he had nobody.
But that's common.
Yeah, and he just happened to stumble upon Zach's platoon who had been dead.
Right.
And he just is like, he saw this body move and he's like, wait, is he alive? And like he checked on him.
Exactly.
And it's like you're thinking like, oh shit, he's gonna kill him.
Well, that's what I thought at first.
That's what I thought at first too.
You were supposed to.
And then it's like he saved him. And it's like, oh shit.
So there starts the indescribable affection towards each other that you have in those situations.
And then you meet the Doc too after that too, like in like the foggy forest or whatever that they're in. Yeah. You know, it's supposedly the jungle.
And you knew he'd been through some shit.
Yeah. Dude, he had the same he went through the same thing that Zach went through. Mm-hmm. So we know that like he had been through like that's why like they gravitated toward one another.
Well, that's why my heart goes out so much for all the medics because my
friends are medics.
Yeah.
You know, they were naval corpsmen.
Yeah, I've had personal experience with several of them, you know, and talk about the only other one that I have sympathy for, but he's just fucking crazy, and that's the tunnel rats. Okay. Between those two guys, man, I can't say enough about how great they are.
For me, like for the naval corpsmen, those guys are fucking nuts. My two best friends are, you know, they made it out, but not the same.
Unscathed,
no, and 90, I would say a good 90%, and it could even be higher, of the medics that were in Vietnam are super messed up.
They're fucked up.
I mean, I would be a saint compared to them. You know, and that's the way I have to look at it. What am I complaining about?
I know,
right? You know, because look what this guy's been through. And then the other one that's just completely off the charts.
He's seen like guts blown out and all that shit. Fuck that.
And had to sew him back up afterwards.
Well, no, the thing is that part you get callous. Believe it or not, you get callous to that.
But your friends that have their guts blown out.
But what hurts the medics even more so is when they lose one of the guys that they're working on.
Yeah.
That compiles up.
Yeah.
And you, it's hard to explain, but you get very callous to all of that, and you have to. The problem is switching it back when you come home.
That's the thing. Like my friend,
that's why
my two of my best friends who are corpsmen, naval corpsmen. Yeah, they didn't come back real great.
No, I didn't come back the same.
Like they're okay now, but like it's not.
It's work.
Yeah, it took a long time.
And I've sit down and I've talked with.
It kind of helps that they're fucked up to begin with, but
Well, you know why they're the way they are.
Yeah.
You see,
and I've had them on the podcast too.
Yeah. See, when I go through therapy, we're in a room with other Vietnam veterans.
Yeah.
So it's not sitting down with the shrink.
Right.
You know, well, we go through that, but that's for other reasons. But far as us getting over the issues that all of us deal with,
I think
my group was I had two guys, and I'm still very close to them. One is in the Navy, but he was a Navy engineer.
Okay.
But he was stationed with the Marines
Yep.
up north.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay. He's nuttier than a fruitcake.
Yeah.
I mean, he used to go out naked with a knife just to go kill gooks.
Yeah. Well, it's
That was his idea
yeah.
of
Wow.
fun.
Mhm.
Wow.
I think that, like, talking with people who have been there and understand the
Yeah.
experience is better than like
Yeah.
talking to a
Oh yeah, I mean,
psychologist.
some of these guys, because we all tell our stories,
Mm-hmm.
and that's very hard to do.
Yeah.
I mean, it's very hard.
It's really hard.
It took me, God, I went through hell trying to tell my story.
I know you talked about, like, you went through, like, you were drinking like, what, 3 cases a day almost.
Yeah, a beer over there, but over there with humidity and everything else, you really don't get.
I know,
drunk.
but
sweat it right
you
out,
you
yeah.
brought that back here, and it's
Well, I brought it back here and it put me in the poorhouse too.
Yeah.
well, yeah.
I'm not paying a nickel for a can of beer.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's what it was over there.
Mm.
Was a nickel for a can.
Mhm.
But no, I got used to drinking that much. And like I say, it's not like, well, what it did is it perpetuated me into being an alcoholic,
Mhm.
Right.
which I was an alcoholic for about 10 years before I got out of the bottle,
Mhm.
because that's where I hid.
Yeah.
That was what took the pain away.
Yeah.
I'd take my mind off of it. So I did that. Now, I'm not proud of it, but
Right.
that's the way I coped.
Mm-hmm.
Over in Vietnam, my experience and the way I classify it is you have 3 type of people over there. You've got alcoholics, okay. You got dope addicts,
Mhm.
Okay.
okay, and you have just fucking crazy.
Mhm.
So you were 2 out of the 3.
2 out of 3, yes, yes.
2 out of 3 ain't bad.
Well,
Well, say.
I'll tell you this little story, and I know we're getting off in this, but
I know you are. It's okay.
One of my experience was on guard duty. Okay, and everybody gets their turn to go on the outer perimeter guard duty,
Right.
which is 3 rows of concertina wire, booby traps, flares.
Mines. Yeah.
You got mines. You've got claymores. You've got
The full Monty, yeah.
big towers.
You're doing the Rambo thing, like, where you're like
Right.
digging,
Right.
you're
And-
crawling around digging your knife.
and then every I think it's 3. There's a tower, and in between there's 3 bunkers.
Mhm.
Okay,
Mhm.
and we're hunkered down in there. So you
Right.
got somebody in there and some in the towers.
Right.
And so my first time on guard duty, which this is funny too. I look at it funny now, but it wasn't too funny at the time. You work 4 hours on, 4 hours off for 24 hours.
Okay.
Mhm.
Okay, so it was my turn to go in.
Mhm.
All right, so I go in, I relieve a guy, and then there's another guy in there. There's 2 to a bunker.
Mhm.
And so I walk in and I say, "Hey, how you doing?" And now I'm a newbie.
Mhm.
Mhm.
I'm still a newbie. And so I'm sitting there, and we're talking, and we're looking out, and I check my weapons, and I do everything that I think I can do.
Mhm.
And he's cool. He's just
Yeah.
kicking back. And then he goes, "Hey man, keep an eye out. I got to go get my shit."
Mhm.
Okay, he's gonna go take a dump.
Mhm.
Mhm.
So he gets out of the bunker. He walks around. He goes through the first row of the concertina wire in front of my bunker.
Mhm.
I'm like, what the hell's this crazy guy doing?
Mhm.
He goes through the first line, and then he comes over and he digs a little hole, and he comes out with a 50 caliber ammo can.
Mhm.
Now, to give you an idea, the ammo can for a 50 caliber is like about that wide
Right. Yeah.
and stands about this tall, and it's that long.
Mhm.
Okay. He pulls this sucker out, and he comes trotting back. He comes in. He pops that lid, and it's all clean weed.
Jesus Christ.
Nice.
But over there, because the moisture and everything else, it's kind of like gooey.
Yeah.
But they also cut it with opium.
Right.
Okay.
Oh my God.
So he gets out the pipe, because there's no such thing as rolling those things.
Yeah,
down.
Right,
yeah.
So he gets out his pipe and he goes, oh, and he's giggling.
Yeah.
So he packs his puppy up, and he's getting ready to fire that thing up. And I smoked at that time.
Yeah.
I didn't smoke weed, but I smoked cigarettes.
Yeah.
And so he fires his puppy up, and he takes a big old puff and drag, and he goes, whoosh, and he blows it up. Goes, oh, that's so good,
Mhm.
And he says, you want a hit? And I went, I don't know. I says, okay, I'll take one hit.
Mhm.
So I took a hit, right? Oh, Big mistake.
Oh.
Big mistake.
Are there now 3 of them around? Yeah.
Well, all of a sudden,
Was it cut with
in different colors,
Was it PCP?
there was just
Yeah, right.
just one hit.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, he's puffing away.
Yeah, yeah.
This cloud's building up in the
Yeah, right.
bunker.
You're
I don't need-
hotboxing in the bunker,
I
which is
don't
pretty
need
good.
to
Yeah.
take a toke.
Yeah, right.
I'm getting it anyway.
Yeah.
So all of a sudden, I
Exactly.
said, "Oh man, I'm getting fucked up here. This
Yeah.
is not good."
Mhm.
About that time, we get in a firefight.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Oh, God.
So all of a sudden, out in the bushes, out in the distance, we've seen these tracers come in.
Mhm.
Yeah.
you know. And so what does he do? He goes, "Oh wow, man, look at
Right.
the tracers."
Well, man.
And I'm going, "Holy fuck!"
Yeah.
And adrenaline kicked in, and I'm ready now. I'm
Yeah.
ready to fight.
Mhm.
I get on the old horn, and next thing you know, we had a whole shingdang going,
Mhm.
and we found out later that we killed about 15, and there was 30 of them that were coming
Jesus.
by.
Mhm.
Because what they like to do is they sneak in and steal the ammo from the ammo depot.
Mhm.
Fuck that.
Yeah, but we found that out later,
Mhm.
Yeah.
not that night. So after that, I'll stick with the booze.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I've been in another firefight and I was drunk, but I'll tell you, adrenaline kicks in. I'm sober.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes, sir.
Boom, like
Mhm.
that.
Mhm.
And I mean, I was shit faced, and boom, I'm sober.
Yeah. Yeah.
The other stuff, it's kind of like,
Yeah.
Well, man.
Yeah.
wow, man, look at the tracers.
Thanks, Mr. Hand. Like, this is
I'll never
awesome.
Yeah, exactly.
I'll never forget that because it was so messed up.
Yeah.
But that was the way that you had to
Yeah.
cope with it.
Isn't this our time?
Yeah.
God, it was
So you had the
50
guys,
50
that would
caliber
sit
canister
there
of weed.
and smoke, and then you got the guys that took drugs, and they're even worse.
Mhm.
And then you had the guys who are just fucking crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And back in the compound where we lived, we had hooches. We called them hooches, and they're like they sleep about 15, and you got little compartments that each guy gets,
Yeah.
and metal tops.
Yeah.
Okay. So at nighttime, we used to climb up and get on the roof, okay, because it's hotter than
Yeah.
hell
Yeah.
during the drought.
Mhm.
And we had watched Benoit Airport, which was in the distance,
Mhm.
get rocket attacked on a
Mhm.
nightly basis.
Mhm.
Jesus.
And so that was our show. Oh, wow, man, look at that one, but then you have the other hooch over here, the guys that were smoking,
Mhm.
you see this haze come up.
Yeah.
They're sitting over there doing the same thing.
Yeah.
Jeez.
And then the crazies are out there running around like this.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it
Oh,
was
boy.
quite a
Quite a
spectacle.
show?
Yeah.
But
But
no.
that's the way we lived.
Yeah. But what I liked about this movie is like we have like I said, Zach is I think he's the coolest. I think he's
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah.
He's a great character. He obviously has been through a lot. He is a they call it a retread
Yeah.
because this is right after World War II.
Yeah, he was in World War II.
He was in Normandy. He was like he went through all that.
Right.
Now he's back in Korea. Went
Mhm.
through, and now we obviously know he's went through a lot in Korea.
Yeah.
He should have been dead,
Right.
but he's
Yeah.
not. It's
Well,
like
just the mental thing of thinking about, his platoon basically got wiped out.
Yeah.
and this platoon probably got wasted in World War II.
Well, yeah, but usually they don't it's not all that common that everybody dies. 'cause
But I'm
there's
just
no-
saying-
no witness.
I'm just saying like that he probably went through the same
Well,
thing in
he
Normandy.
lost friends overseas, sure.
Yeah,
We all do.
I'm just saying that like he's gone through this before,
Yeah.
and it's like he went through this even more traumatic thing in Korea.
That's right. And that's what I'm saying is you're adding this on top of already what he's been through.
Yeah,
And then the horror of laying there pretending you're dead so he doesn't shoot you.
Mm-hmm.
bingo.
That's terrible.
You have the doc, who also was the only reason that he's alive is because he's a doc.
Mhm.
It's like
Yeah.
oh we're and he escaped from the Reds doing
Right.
that because he's like, oh fuck that, I'm out of here.
Well, the Reds had him so that they in the movie they had him fixing the Reds.
right,
Yeah.
and he
And then he
escaped.
escaped from them. Yeah.
Good for him.
Right. Which is another traumatic thing.
Yeah, and then you have that other platoon that Lieutenant Driscoll is
And that was
leading.
a rookie
Yeah.
platoon.
That
So
was-
they pretend that to be
Outside of Tanaka. Tanaka is the only one that
Tanaka was
had
the-
any sort of experience
right. And you
because
could see that from the beginning.
and the only because Zach respected Tanaka because he
Mhm.
knew Tanaka is a good soldier.
Yeah.
he doesn't respect anyone else in that. Like
Yeah.
they're all
No.
rookies, and he
Right.
hates the officer because he
Right.
thinks like
Yeah.
you're an idiot.
Right.
And it's like the only reason that they don't listen to Tanaka is because he has almond eyes.
Mhm.
And it's like his eyes.
yeah.
That's the reason why they don't listen to him.
And I understand that quite a bit because that's a hard thing to get over. Even
Yeah. And
even
it's like,
for me, it took a while to get over.
and even so the guy that plays Tanaka, he is a guy named Richard Liu. He is not Japanese. He is Chinese.
Chinese.
He has been in like 100 films before this movie. Like
Right.
he's actually a very experienced actor.
Yeah, you've seen him.
But like
before.
he
Mhm.
is really good. Like I honestly
Yeah.
I believe that he was Japanese, to be honest. He
Mhm.
looked pretty
Well, from a
convincing,
Caucasian person, they all look the same.
no, but no, I didn't. Okay,
No
shut up,
offense,
Darrell.
buddy.
Yeah.
But
We all look alike.
I didn't-
you know?
Yeah.
But the thing
I
is-
don't care if you compare, if you confuse me with another Korean, but don't you ever confuse me for a no dirty Jap.
Yeah.
And I know from experience, all us Jews look alike.
Yeah.
The secret, right?
No
Exactly.
hair.
No, right. The secret is some of us look alike to each other, but we don't like
Yeah,
to say
yeah,
that
yeah.
too loudly.
yeah,
No, it's just that
Yeah.
there is subtle differences.
but I like, and trust me, I know that.
But on,
just as
but
much
on
as-
a, but on a reflex,
Right.
they're all the same.
Right.
But he, like I said, I believed him as a Japanese soldier.
Because see, in Vietnam, you not only had North Kong, but you also had Chinese,
Right.
Mhm.
Yeah.
and you had Vietnamese,
Mhm.
and you had French Vietnamese.
Yeah.
Yep.
See, there's a mixed in there.
Yeah.
Mhm.
You can
Well, we
tell
th-
mostly in the women, but in the guys you can't.
Well, and we
Yeah.
talk about that in this film. It's like, how do you tell the difference between North Koreans and South Koreans?
Mhm.
yeah,
One's running at you,
And
one's
the other
running
one-
with you.
That's
Yeah.
right. In Vietnam, you didn't know.
Mhm.
Exactly.
They could be working next to you in the daytime, and then put on his jammies at night and try to kill you.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And it didn't matter where you were in Vietnam.
Mhm.
Jesus.
And
Charlie's everywhere.
clear down from the Delta, which is clear down on one end, all the way up to the Chinese border.
Mhm.
Okay, and think of it this way. It's like the United States. You got Texans, and you can tell the Texans,
Mhm.
and you can go into South, and they speak a little different,
Mhm.
right? And they have the same thing over there within their own country.
Right.
And then you throw in some Cambodians, and you throw in a few Laos.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Mhm. Laotians.
Do you have time to sort them out?
Yeah. I mean, because the Seoul accent is different from the Busan accent in Korea.
Right.
So.
But you don't. But like white people will not know that.
But
Yeah.
we can't tell.
Well,
Not people from that country
don't
won't
get
know.
this wrong, but we had a saying over there,
Mhm.
and it was "kill them all, let God sort them out."
Yeah.
Yeah, and I understand that.
And that's the way you survive. Because if you flinch,
Right.
you're
Yeah.
dead.
You had
Right.
to
Yeah.
come up.
Yeah,
with
just
these
shoot first and next questions
but
later.
and we
Yeah.
deal with that in this movie
Yeah.
because
Yes,
you
you
had
do.
because you had short round like okay,
Mhm.
I know this guy's okay because he saved me from my situation,
Right.
and it's like, but he didn't trust anyone else.
That's right.
Yeah, that one
because
scene where he
we-
pretended
like-
like, he didn't speak
literally-
He's
English.
been betrayed before.
Literally, the scene after this is like, oh, you saw, these two are praying for they're
The
praying
Korean
to Buddha.
heroes, they're
But it's like they were red soldiers that
Right.
were pretending,
That's
Yeah.
right.
and it's like, all right, well, I don't trust them, so if anything happens, you eat rice, like you get on
Yeah,
the ground
right.
and we'll take care of them.
hit the dark.
And
Right.
sure enough, they were North Korean soldiers that were
Sure.
pretending.
And the same thing happens. That's the part that kind of irks me about Vietnam is the fact that the news media would never show some of the
Of
things
course they
that
were,
we were against.
because they
Because
didn't
when you
want
see when you see a child, and they know because we're Westerns.
Mhm.
Okay, we have morals. We have
Yeah.
the way we've been brought up,
to.
right?
Vietnam
it's a poor
didn't have that.
child.
Yeah,
Okay.
rules of engagement.
But the child's sitting there and he's strapped on with dynamite, or he's carrying.
That's the problem
grenade.
today with like Afghanistan and like Iraq.
Exactly. And we started to learn that then.
Human shields.
But see, in Vietnam, this was the first time you really saw that.
yeah.
You didn't see that in World War II,
No.
Nope.
and
Yeah.
if you did, it was very rare. I'm not.
No.
Very rare.
I mean, it could have happened, but
Right.
I'd
There's
never
no
heard of an
examples
incident.
that-
Yeah, there's no reports.
That's
right. And so when the news media sees, oh, we wiped out this village, but what they didn't understand was the
it's like those women and
Vietcong
children were like,
had already taken over that village and have threatened the villagers that you attack
well,
us,
that's
or
the
we'll come back and kill you.
well, that's the thing about like Full Metal Jacket. Like
Right.
the big villain in
Right.
that film was a young woman who was
That's right.
was a North Vietnamese,
That's-
a Viet Cong.
That's why that movie bothers me the most.
Because it's like but that's telling the truth.
It is.
That's what bothers people about that
Mhm.
film.
That's why that movie, and there's a couple others that are really realistic to the point where, hey, there it is. There's the truth. But the genuine American public never saw that
I know.
or wouldn't believe it.
Yeah.
And it's like, if you remember, there's a famous case where God, I can't think of his name. You'll have to apologize. But the guy that was put on trial because he supposedly wiped out this village of children and women. Okay. And so they put him on trial for murder.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know the exact details of that particular thing,
Mhm.
but I understand where his head's at.
Mhm.
And your head is survival.
Right.
There's casualties to war,
You're right.
regardless. And I'm not saying he was right or he was wrong, but I'm saying to put him on trial to me, was horrible
Mhm.
because you weren't there to figure out what was really going on.
Mhm.
They may have come to that village before and got ambushed.
Yeah.
We don't know that. There could be so many factors involved in that, but they don't take that in consideration. But yet the public can turn around and see in World War II where we bombed cities,
Right.
right?
Mhm.
Didn't think anything of it, did they?
Not a problem.
Not a problem. But
Mhm.
when someone in the mindset that you have to be to survive in Vietnam, under the idea that anybody can come out and kill you, you're going to be on your toes. And that's where you get the old saying from a lot of guys was kill them all and let God sort them out.
And
Because I want to come home.
the rules of warfare were changing.
Well, they always change.
That's what I'm saying. Is like, but like, especially in Vietnam, it was changing because
Well, the biggest thing was there was a guy with a camera filming all of it.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And
I'm just saying-
unfiltered.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Guerrilla warfare, and you have people that have been probably, from childhood,
Right.
brought into that ideology.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, okay, the guy is 10, but he is bought into this ideology. He's trying to kill American soldiers. I don't want to die, so I'm going to take this fucker out. I don't care if he's 10 or 15 or a woman. Who cares?
Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's a hard thing for us because
And people don't, and that's a hard truth.
We're not trained
Yeah,
that way.
because the way we were brought up and the way we believe, I'm a God-fearing man, and I have my religion, and I was brought up a good old American boy, and been blessed with a good raising and living in a country where we have our freedoms and everything else that goes along with it. Our enemies, and even today with the Arabs, okay, they understand that and they use that against us.
Mhm.
See,
Yeah.
they have a very cold heart. For
Yeah.
them, life isn't that much.
Right.
For us, it's very precious, and they use that against us.
Yep.
Mhm.
And if we come into a country, what we call a newbie, and have to face that, that's how they get killed.
Mhm.
Yep.
Unless you get along with the sergeant or somebody else that's been around and says, no, you do this.
I'm a Sergeant Zach in that case. Like,
Zach-
fuck those people.
And Zach,
Mhm.
and that's why I like that movie, because it's truthful. And it's something that you don't see too often in the movies for people to really
Yeah,
understand.
and like this is also like one of those movies too, because all these soldiers that we see in the film, they are cast-offs from because their platoons have been like fucked up, like
Right.
like destroyed,
Decimated.
Mhm.
and so they are trying to survive.
Right.
And like Sergeant Zach is like when because they're like they ended up working together. They Zach and the Doc Short Round joined up with that other platoon with the newbies.
Mm-hmm.
He's like they're a bunch of ballerinas. They don't know a
Right.
damn thing.
Right.
And so he's like, I can't. Fuck. I guess I can't let them die
Well, again, that's his brought up. That's
because
the way he was
because he has honor and to a degree.
Mm-hmm.
But then it comes to the point they come. Oh, we found a dead body. It's like get his dog tag. He's like, who gives a shit? He's dead.
Yeah.
Just leave him alone.
Yeah.
And it's like, and then
could
when
be booby trapped.
Well, that's what he says.
Yeah.
And it's like, what happens? He's booby trapped.
Right.
Which is also what we use in Full Metal Jacket, because it's the same fucking scene.
Same thing.
Yeah.
And it's like,
But see, they're using our humanity that we
Against
have
us.
against us.
yeah, but it's the same thing.
Yeah.
And it's like, see, told you. And it's like,
Mhm.
he's just chomping away on his watermelon. I was like,
Right.
who gives a shit? He's dead. Like,
But see,
who
that's
cares?
when I tell you learn how to be cold-hearted.
It's not
why.
because like you don't care.
No,
but
you do care, but you can't care.
Bingo. That's the
Right.
thing. It's and that's
You have
that's hard for
to-
people to accept.
Well, yeah, because they don't understand it.
Yeah.
When it's not that. At least it wasn't that hard for me to get to that point.
There was a couple of controversial moments in this film. This is one of them.
Right. But the hardest thing that no one covers is when you come back home, you have to flip that back the other way.
And it's hard.
Yeah.
Very hard.
And some people can't do it.
And that's
Yeah,
why we have a
yeah.
lot of guys out there on the street that are veterans that are still on drugs and still soaking their pain in alcohol or drugs. It's because they can't get out of that.
Yeah.
And
It's very hard.
I get
they
it.
feel guilty for what they have done.
I get it.
Yeah.
I totally get it.
Yeah. And that's where my heart goes out because I've been there.
Mhm.
I know what it's like. To be honest, the only thing that helped me was my faith in God to get me out of it.
And you had family to help you.
I did, but they didn't understand.
Oh, okay. But like I said,
And
you
who
still.
could? Who could?
Yeah, see, nobody could.
Yeah.
And at that time, I wasn't involved with the VA and be able to get into some of these programs that they do have some very good programs out there for us.
Mhm.
If you're willing
To go.
to go for it.
Right.
See, that's like the homeless issue.
Yeah.
They said that it's 60% of them are Vietnam veterans,
Yeah.
is what
Mhm.
they've said.
Mhm.
And maybe some from the recent
Yeah. Desert Storm.
Desert Storm
yeah.
and some of these others. And the thing is there is programs out there to get every one of them off the street,
Mhm.
but they don't want to come off the street because if you come off the street and you go into a program,
You have to deal with it.
you have to clean up.
Yep.
And that's what they don't want to deal with.
Right.
Is cleaning up because then the nightmares come back,
Yeah.
then the shaking, the sweats, and everything else
Yeah.
comes back.
Mhm.
And the way they suppress that is with the drugs and alcohol.
Yeah.
And then there's the ones that are just outright crazy.
Crazy.
Yeah. And there's a number of them.
Andy
as
deals
well.
with this all the time.
Yeah, I mean, you see them out there, talking to themselves and
Yeah.
having an argument with themselves and lose.
Mhm.
You see that happen, and
Mhm.
my heart goes out for them. But yet, it comes to a point where you have to make a decision. You want to live like that, or you don't.
I mean, I laugh, but at the same time, it's
No,
like, yeah,
but
it's,
you know what I mean.
Yeah, it's,
You feel for him. Yeah.
yeah.
No, there was a guy actually when I at work, okay, and he definitely had a medical problem.
Mhm.
Mhm.
And so what they did was they took him off the line. I worked for General Motors, and they took him off the line and they gave him a broom. And says, "Okay, here, this is what you're going to do: is clean."
Mhm.
Okay, he was nuts. I mean, if he was off his drugs, look out.
Mhm.
But he would get in arguments with himself
Jesus
and
Christ.
and this broom.
Yeah.
And in a way, we made fun of him, and in another way, we didn't. We felt
Right.
sorry for him. All of us would do anything for
Yeah.
him. But you had to laugh. I mean, because he was sitting here, and it's like the broom's the other guy, you
Yeah.
know, and he's just cussing him out one end up.
Fuck
the
you,
other.
short round.
Yeah. And he said, I'm gonna kill you, you rotten, and he's giving it hell, and we're sitting there just going, oh, jeez,
Yeah.
and then he says, okay, I give up, and then back to normal.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Yeah. But, you see that on the street when you really watch some of these guys.
Yeah.
You see them
Yeah.
talking themselves or have a fight and no one's there,
Yeah.
and he's having this big old fight going on. There's no one there,
Yeah.
and that's what it is.
Mhm.
But they don't want to, and that's why, in a way, I give some of our politicians a break to a point, because these people don't want to come off, but you have to go beyond that.
Yeah.
The biggest mistake we have done in the past is to empty out all the sane asylums.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
That was the biggest mistake
Biggest
we ever
That's
done.
right. Yeah. When Reagan closed down all the state hospitals,
Yeah.
cut all the federal
we
funding
talked
to
about
them.
that
Yeah,
on,
we have.
on the live stream,
Yeah.
Yeah.
several times.
Yeah.
So there's
we
no
have
place
before.
for some of these people that really need the medical help
Yeah.
that are not veterans
Yeah.
for them to go.
Yeah.
So it's a
But-
big problem.
Like I said, so what I like about this film is it also, yeah, one of the big scenes is towards the end. Like we have the fog of war
Yeah.
after Short Round is killed, which is it just killed that. Which we'll talk about because I am going to talk about that scene, but. There is the fog of war that we see, which we see also in Raging Bull. That is where Scorsese got that scene, like where he's fighting Sugar Ray. Was it Sugar Ray Leonard? No,
Sugar Ray Robinson.
Sugar Ray
Sugar
Robinson.
Robinson.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Different Sugar Ray.
Yeah, right.
Different
the,
sugar.
The original Sugar Ray was
The
Robinson.
original Sugar Ray.
Yeah.
But like it's like those two are fighting, and like they
Yep.
have like the kind of that the ring is enclosed in smoke, and it's like it's just those two fighting it out.
Mm-hmm.
This is the scene like where you have Zach, who is in that he's in
The fog
shooting
of war.
yeah,
He's
the
in
fog
it.
of war.
Mm-hmm.
That's where Scorsese got it for Raging Bull,
Mm-hmm.
and it's
But see, some of the real good producers and directors, they key on those points in all these other different movies.
this is
That's
one of those
a point that moves the people.
this because after Short Round is killed and this happens, he
Yeah.
loses it
Yeah.
because
And it's very understandable.
and I understand why because he's like Zach, he's like this tough guy, but he started to feel something for Short Round. It's like I like this kid. He's
Mhm.
awesome.
Mhm.
Like and like he was starting to give more and more responsibilities to him. He's like he did everything that he's shouting at him like being a jerk to him.
Mhm.
He's like it's like where River is? Yes. I know where River is. No. It's
Yeah,
like
right,
and it's like it's kind of like
Right.
Yeah.
there's back and forth between them, and he loves this kid.
Mm-hmm.
But you see, when you get into his psyche, okay, he's had to not trust anyone.
And he likes this kid. He trusts
and then
him.
he finally sees this kid that he can trust.
Mhm.
And then what happens is you can't get away again from the way we're brought up. And you want that
And
affection.
he is like,
That's why that scene.
do
was
I
tough.
can I have a dog tag? It's like you don't have a dog tag,
Yeah.
but he made a dog tag for him. That it's like
Yeah.
it's like oh
Yeah, I kind of felt like,
and I knew as soon as that happened, like this kid's dead.
Yeah, that's what I thought too.
I was like fucking A,
Mm-hmm.
I thought that was going to happen as well.
and I was like
And I went, oh man, they're not going to do that, are they?
this kid's
And
dead.
they did.
When he
Yeah.
made those dog tags, it was like this kid's
Mhm.
dead. It was like fucking A, no
Yeah.
way, don't do this to me.
Yeah.
And sure enough, they did it. I was
But
like,
see, he
no,
wanted-
not
Yeah.
Short Round.
He wanted to show how terrible war is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because even like at the end of the film, it's like this story is not over.
Right.
Yeah, the story never
Right,
ends.
yeah.
Yeah.
No. And that was the beginning of the war, basically.
Yeah,
Mhm.
And there are some other real true lying battles that were really nasty over there.
yeah, and
You
it's
know,
one of
and-
those wars that like nobody talks about.
Yeah.
No, they don't. Very little.
Very little.
And part of it is it was a short war.
Mhm.
Three
Yeah,
years.
Yeah, 3 years. That's nothing.
Yeah, 50 to 53.
Yeah.
Or 52.
I mean, we still, in official
we-
records, call it the Korean police conflict. You know.
Yeah.
Police
well,
action.
you still
Police
got
action,
a
thank you.
When you
DMZ.
talk to
Police action.
South Koreans that were like involved, like they are very.
You got to
thankful.
remember how many generations this goes through, though, even in South Korea.
I know, but like I said, like when you
But I'm
talk
sure
to
it's taught in their school.
South Koreans that were involved in it, it's like
Oh yeah.
thank you.
Mhm.
You see, and that's like the difference between, like I like to compare that with France,
Right.
okay,
Mhm.
or Europe even.
Mhm.
You know, Europe should be kissing our feet.
Yeah, for World War II.
You know,
yeah.
for World War II. Absolutely. You know, for what we've done. But how many of them over there hate us?
Mhm.
You know?
All of them.
Yeah.
Just
I know,
about.
yeah,
A
especially
lot,
the French. Like, stupid Americans.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm
Fuck you,
French.
buddy.
Right. But again, but if you happen to be able to find someone that lived through that, of course, now they're getting really up there.
Mhm.
Yeah.
They're still very appreciative.
Thankful. Yeah.
Yeah, very much so.
Mhm.
I've run across. It's kind of interesting. You know, most of my era, to find a Vietnamese that's over here at that age, yeah, it's hardly. I haven't run across one in a while.
Yeah.
I've run across some kids that were educated and remembered it,
Mhm. Mhm.
and they're very appreciative
Yeah.
because they know what we tried to do.
Yeah.
You know, and The other factor is that you got to understand that all the ones that made it out are extremely lucky.
Mhm.
And no one talks about the slaughter after we left.
Yeah.
They're very
Yeah,
few
after
people
the,
know
the
about
fall
the
of
big,
Saigon and
the fall of
everything.
Saigon and how many people were slaughtered
Jesus, yeah,
afterwards.
yeah.
If you did anything with the Americans, they slaughtered you.
Yeah.
So all the ones that were still left behind or were in business or whatever, they did away with them.
Mm.
And then enslaved the population for the next 10 years.
Yep. Yeah.
So that was the only reason, I understood the war to a point, of why we were there. Some people, and you can argue why we were there and why we weren't, because it really goes back a long ways. It goes back even before World War II, as far as the politics and everything that went around when France was there and the colonies and everything else that was going on at the time in that area. Not counting Cambodia, Laos, and the rest of them over there, Thailand.
Yeah.
The way I felt like it was, okay, I may not understand the politics, but I'm going because I love my country,
Right.
and this is a very small price to pay to be free. Okay, when I wish to a point that everybody would get a chance to travel to a third world country, because you come back with a real appreciation for what we have.
Yeah.
And that hit me hard too when we came home, was the fact that, man, we take so much for granted in comparison to a real third world country.
Right.
To have to
Yeah.
do.
I mean, especially now, I think that happened more often. I think, I think
Well,
things,
as the world shrinks
I think
more and
things
more.
would be a little more quieter here in at home if
Right.
if more, especially young people did that.
Well, see, that's why I don't like the idea of a total volunteer service.
Yeah.
You see, there was two ways, even in my time. You got drafted, okay, and then they stopped the draft.
Right.
But before that, let's say you were a bad boy growing up, okay, and you got caught in a gang or whatever.
You're going to the army, or you're going to
would give
jail.
you a choice. Okay, you can go into the service, or you're going to go to jail for the next 5 years. A lot of them went into the service,
Yep.
and came out great.
Yeah.
Like
old Armin Tanzarian.
Yeah.
When I went in, I didn't.
Had I known there was a war at the time, I would have chosen to apologize.
You would have been to Canada, right?
Yeah.
That's another sore subject. The idea of the service, people put a bad rap on the service, and I feel it's totally uncalled for, because it may not be for everybody, but just like what I told my grandson, and I had to really think about that when my grandson wanted to go in, and he came to me and he asked, he says, "Well, what do you think if I go in the Army?" I says, one, well, you picked the right service. And the other part, I had to really think about it, because there was still, things were going on in the Middle East, and he could be in harm's way.
Yeah.
And so I really had to think about it. And I says, you know what? I says, if you do one thing for me, you have my blessing. He goes, what's that? I says, pick a trade that you can make a living when you get out.
Yep.
I says, don't become a tank driver.
Or an infantryman.
Or an infantryman. Or a bazooka player.
Right.
Use it to your advantage.
Yeah.
Try to find a trade that when you come into the civilian life, if you decide not to stay in, that you can make a good living at.
Yep.
Use them. And he went, okay. And so he went in. Unfortunately, he got hurt in boot camp. And so then they racked up his back.
Jesus.
He's had 2 surgeries.
Oh man.
Damn.
Yeah. So he really didn't serve beyond that.
But hey, he tried.
But he went in, and I'm
I respect that.
very proud of him.
Hey, you know what? I respect that because
I do too.
Because he did more than a lot of people
A lot
would.
of them do.
Yeah.
See, some of them.
He got hurt. That's fine. That I have
but
no.
Yeah, I have no qualms with that at all.
No.
And the thing is that and the ones that want to go in to be able to get an education.
Yeah.
I got
have
no
no problem
problem
with
that either.
Yeah.
You know, you're earning it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what my cousins are doing. My cousin, he went to the army. He became a doctor.
Yeah, see, that's great.
Yeah, I would say, and my cousin, she went to the Coast Guard. I forget what she does, but the military paid for her school.
Yeah, I have a nephew that's in the Coast Guard. He's making a life career out of it. He's been in now for, I want to say 12 years.
Mm-hmm.
Good for him.
Yeah, and I says, no, I'm proud of that. No, I says,
Despite
just
him being
because
in
you
the-
go into the service doesn't mean.
Just because you go in the Coast Guard, you know.
Well, believe it or not,
Little
Coast
pirates.
Guard was in Vietnam.
I know.
Yeah.
I fuck around with that, but it's
Yeah,
like I fuck with those guys, but like I
See,
respect them.
Vietnam changed a lot of their
Yeah.
ideas because they were pulling them from everywhere.
I know.
That's
they were.
That's why when I got out, see, the thing is if you serve in a war zone, you don't have to do your reserve time,
Right.
okay? Because you have a 6-year obligation, okay? So
I had an 8-year obligation, by the way.
because you went Navy,
Yeah. Well, yeah, I had an 8.
that's why I don't go Navy. No, I had bad ears, and I says I couldn't see me on a ship throwing up all the time. So.
Yeah.
But anyway, all my family was Navy except for me.
Mhm.
Well, my brother was in the Air Force for 3 weeks though, until he hit somebody.
In the sky or on land? Yeah. Right.
He
Okay.
pop-
On land.
Come
I
on,
wasn't sure if you meant he hit someone.
He's a Rob. He punched somebody. All right.
I punched someone out.
You
My
know,
brother was like that.
Yeah.
You know what they say, Bender? We can join the infantry reserve and live a life of luxury, unless war were declared. Ah, what happened? War declared.
Yeah, no, that's why he became a truck driver because he
Yeah.
couldn't work for anybody.
I know.
He worked at General Motors for a while too until he hit his foreman.
Jesus
So,
Christ.
no, he had a temper. So
Yeah. That's why.
that's why.
That's why.
But you know, there's a lot of and when you really look at it, the military can really teach you.
Mhm.
You know, it's a great opportunity than paying to go to college.
Right.
You know, and some of these guys, because I know one guy, he served. I think it was almost 15 years, and he really had to think about staying in to get the pension or come out.
Mhm.
The thing is he was an aircraft mechanic for radar. Okay, and he was working on the common jets, that we have, and so Boeing wanted to give him a contract to give him almost $500,000 a year in
Hell
salary.
yeah. I would fuck that. I'm
to
taking
come
that.
out,
I'm taking that.
and that's what he did. He came out.
Smart.
Yeah.
And I says, oh man, I says, just think if you did another 5 years, you get the pension, you get the benefits, and then go.
Yeah.
But he says, no, he says it was too good.
I'm taking that.
He took it. He
Yeah.
took
I
it.
don't blame him.
And when was this?
This was this might have been now probably 15 years ago.
Yeah. I would take
so
the.
like $500,000.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's a lot
Fuck
of
that.
money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a hell of a lot of
money.
money.
It's
Hell
probably,
yeah. It
right
was.
to today's money, it's probably equivalent to like $2 million.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Jesus.
And even at that time, he wasn't making that much money where he was at,
Mm-hmm.
even though he had good rank and he had a good job. But it was so technical because it was at the high end of that thing.
Yeah.
I'm taking that $500,000, baby.
And he took it and got out.
I don't blame him.
Now, my best friend that went in 3 months ahead of me ended up in Berlin, and that's where I was hoping to go. He was a communication specialist as well,
Mm-hmm.
but he got into, oh God, what do they call it? Well, anyway, he was in a bunker working with the spies that are in East Germany. Okay.
Okay.
So,
Like Cold War stuff.
Cold War stuff. And even though Vietnam was going on,
Yeah.
but he got there, like I said, in probably mid 60s or late 60s anyway. And so lived off base, had his own apartment.
Mm-hmm.
The only thing is he couldn't get within 200 yards of the wall. He'd be shot.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And the other part of it was he's almost a spook.
Right.
They
right,
want him to be a spook.
Yeah.
Right.
And he said, no way.
Right.
So he was a black man. That's what you're saying.
Well, he no.
With the agency, but not with the agency. I can neither confirm nor deny.
Yeah.
Or like he
I
was,
could tell you, but I have to kill you.
Yeah.
was it?
And
There's
so
there's
that-
different distinctions between like intelligence assets, like the
Right.
Nox and the non-Nox.
Right.
It's like Nox, you have like the diplomatic immunity. You're considered a diplomatic attaché.
You're right.
Mm-hmm.
And as opposed to the non-Nox, they're the ones that go and get
Right.
assets and get information.
Right,
Yeah.
but you're on your
And
own
then, yeah,
if you
but you're
get
completely
captured.
disavowed,
Right, yeah,
yeah.
exactly.
The Mission Impossible is like, we
Right.
had.
Well, he dealt with teletype.
Okay.
Okay, so he was in
okay.
communications with the guys that are
Right.
across the wall,
Mhm.
and he had a crypto clearance because they even came and interviewed me when he was getting his crypto clearance,
Right.
and because I went through, I knew him through high school and junior high, and he was at my wedding, the whole bit. But it was interesting because when I got out of my school, which was communications. We had first got orders. I think I told you this before. I first got orders to go to Franklin, Germany, which is the replacement center. And so we were watching everybody graduate ahead of us, the different schools. Stateside, Germany. Stateside, Germany. And so it was coming up, and the last one went stateside. So we got a good shot at going to Germany. So then we graduated. We out of 360 guys, there was only a little over 24 left that made it through the school, and looked like it was going to fall Germany. So I wrote to my buddy Greg that was over in Germany, and I says, "This is what's going on." He says, "Great." He says, "I'll talk to my CO and he'll pull your records and you'll be with me." And so I went, "Oh man, that's gotta be great." He's living off, dude. It's like a 9-to-5 job. Other than he has to stay away from the wall, but he traveled all over Europe with his bodyguard, but he traveled all over the place.
Right.
So anyway, he make a long story short, we got our orders. Okay. Frankfurt, Germany, we're going to give you a 30-day leave, and then you ship out. So I was jumping for joy, okay? And so now we're down to 2 days to process out take our leave. Orders come down, he says, "Your orders have been flagged." We're all looking at each other like, what the hell's flagged mean? Never heard the term. And so we asked around, he says, "That means that your orders have been canceled and they got new orders." So even then, we didn't think anything of no.
Right.
And when you're in boot camp and in the school, you're pretty much cut off from the mainline news. So you don't really know what's going on.
Yeah, you're in a bubble, yeah.
Right. So what we found out later, this is when Nixon wanted to make it look like we were withdrawing troops. So what he did was he took out a division of Marines out of the north and replaced it with a division of Army in the south.
Yeah.
I was in that division.
Yeah.
So then we
Fucking hell.
Yeah. So then we got, oh man, they tore that place apart. I just went and got drunk, but the rest of them, man, we had, out of what was left, we had 15 that went to Canada. They took off and went to Canada. And I thought about it. I really did. It crossed my brain. But the only thing that stopped me was the thought of, if I go, okay, and I still believe this. If you go, you go.
Yeah, because the rest of your life.
When they gave amnesty, that tore me apart. That was just not.
Fuck those people.
Right. I still feel that way. If you go and you make the decision to go, then be a man and stay with it.
Like Clinton.
So, but what bothered me the most was the thought of, okay, if I go, someone's got to replace me to go.
Yeah.
What if he gets killed?
Yeah.
Because I got no balls and go to Canada. Even though if I did, I would stay.
Yeah.
And at that time you had to.
Well, you know what? You went and you survived.
I went and I survived. But see, that was the thing too. I says, not everybody going over there is going to die.
Yeah.
There's guys went over there and never fired a gun.
Yeah.
It's true.
There's plenty of jobs over there that you weren't in harm's way.
Right.
Yeah.
So I said, nah, I'm going to go. But,
Well-
and then we only got 2 weeks.
Yeah.
We didn't get a full month.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We got 2 weeks.
Well, why don't we give our final thoughts on the SEAL helmet?
Yeah.
Yes.
Daryl, since you've been our main guest on here,
Oh.
why don't you, because, and we love that, by the way. Thank you
Well,
for,
I hope I didn't bore you to
one,
death.
welcome home.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you
And I
for-
do appreciate that.
Yeah. And I couldn't do this film without you.
Well,
to be
thank
honest.
you. Thank you.
So why don't you give your final thoughts on the SEAL helmet? What do you think about it?
At first, I had to look at it at first as, okay, this is a typical 50s war movie.
Darrell,
Right.
could you?
This was kind of like a 50s war movie. And in those days, you got to remember, we didn't have all the
I'll lean into the mic.
the special effects or the technology that we use in modern films today that make them look so realistic. But then I kind of reevaluated it by kind of really trying to put myself into the main character's brain, what he was going through, and what was the intent of this director in this movie.
Right.
And then that's what changed it for me. If we were rating this from 1 to 5, I would give it a 4.
Okay. All right.
And mainly it's because of the mindset and the things. Like I said, we talked about early. What I thought when he gave the helmet to the lieutenant.
Right.
Okay, and that's the way. And again, I'll have to watch it, but that's the way I took it. Was he finally appreciated and wanted to thank the lieutenant for his bravery
For stepping up.
and for stepping up
Okay.
and doing the right thing.
Yeah. As I feel.
So that meant a lot. That meant a lot to me because it shows still the man has compassion and it shows that the man does care, even though we try to turn all that off. Losing short round, that was hard.
That was really hard.
Yeah.
But again, you have to take it in the contents. This is war.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's nothing pretty about war.
No.
And there's nothing glory about war. It's a horrible thing, and I wish, and if you can see on my shirt, I'd much rather go out and play golf than be in a war. And because of that, that's why I give it high praise. I thought for the period of time, and you got to remember, this is the 50s and early 50s. I was just born
Yeah.
towards the end of this war.
Yeah.
And when you think of the times and you think of the Korean War as a whole, it's one of those wars that, yeah, we got a bad rap in Vietnam when we got out.
It's forgotten.
But
They're not forgotten. At
Our
least.
war is not forgotten because it was in everybody's face at dinner time. And so there's a lot that people remember of it, and mainly the negative things of it, not the positive things. And the fact that the Korean War is basically forgotten.
Yeah.
There's a handful of movies out there that are war movies of Korea, but not as meaningful as I thought this one was. And that's why I would give it that praise.
Okay. All right. Dan, how about you, buddy?
Yeah, I was thinking also it's approaching a 4. I'll probably give this one a 3.5. For realism.
Yeah, you just watched this today, so like you're
Right.
yeah.
So it's still
Yeah.
fresh.
Right. For realism, especially based on the time it was being filmed, you're right. Not corny at all, especially when you compare it to a bunch of other Hollywood type war films, like
Right.
you were saying.
From that era.
From
yeah.
that era,
Right.
and even from the era going about 20 years into the future, there were a lot of corny type
Oh, yeah.
war films made. So for that, I give it a 4+ easy. I think just some of the acting and the plot line, which was wavering, I would like a little more backstory that keeps it, a little bit under a 4. But overall,
You could have easily got, if you had like an extra like 30 minutes of this film, it wouldn't have been like too. It wouldn't have been.
It
too
wouldn't have been
much.
too long because it was only an hour and 15 minutes in total.
Yeah.
And that may have helped. Another 20+ minutes
Yeah.
may have, I think, would have done it good if used correctly. but otherwise, I give it mostly positive reviews. Yeah.
So a 4 for Darrell, 3.5 for you. Andy, how about you, buddy?
Yeah, I'd give this a 4. Again, you're remembering just the time and when it came out. I'm really only going to knock it technically, and not just filmmaking wise, but just like why wouldn't you clear the temple?
Bingo.
Yeah. That's why I said there are a few plot holes there. That keep it from being a 4 in my mind.
That's the only thing that I'm gonna ding it for. Otherwise, it was good. It's like, but why would you not clear the temple? Yeah. It's just like
I feel like they didn't even try to clear the temple.
They just came onto the porch. It's like, all right,
and assume we're fine. We can dig in here.
Dig in, fellas, and whatever. It's just like, but you didn't clear the temple.
Yeah.
Well, it's kind of a military strategy there. You want the high ground.
Yeah.
But even though
still they got in there and they assumed that everything was hunky dory. No, that's one of the few, if not only, non-realistic parts of it. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, that's like the only like technical ding that I'll give it.
I'm probably with Andy and Darrell on this one. I'm gonna give it a 4 as well. I just, like I said, this is one of the few Korean War films, so I think that's a positive there. I like the director a lot. I think that he brings and we didn't really talk about this, but he did bring a lot of like the social elements to it as well. Like, he had the North Korean soldier like that was like, you can't even sit on the front of the bus to the dock.
Right.
You can't to Sergeant Tanaka. It's like they threw you in internment camps. Kind of those which we've talked about on several occasions with the live stream, and it's like, yeah, you're right. But you know what? Like, I still love America. So fuck you, commie bastard. Right. And it's like, so there's that aspect to it as well. So there's a social element. There's I think the war element, and nobody likes the war. I don't. No. Like I said, even though even if it's something that it's important, like, hey, we need to fight this war.
No one's rooting for the battles themselves.
Exactly.
I'm gung ho to go to no.
No one wants. Even though we know that World War II was important, nobody wants to do that.
Important and essential don't mean that you're excited for it.
But nobody wants to do that. Right. The Vietnam War was not important, but we did need to do that in some case, or we were
not
charged
as long
to do
as
that.
We should have, but
and it's so
we were almost obligated.
We were there too long.
We were obligated, but we didn't really need to be there.
No.
But like I said, we were there anyways. So you know what? We're gonna do it. We're gonna try it. The soldiers are gonna do their best, and that's that. It's just that's the obligation.
If they had kept the politics out of it, it would have been a whole different thing.
Oh, same thing with the Korean War.
Yeah,
same thing with the Korean War.
Exactly.
And so it's just like one of those things where I like this film. I like the message that's there, and the way that it ended. It's just like it's not a happy ending. No. It's like this story is not over.
But it's a realistic war ending. The fact, I thought, if anything, that Sergeant Mike Zack, the main character, should have been the one to get killed instead of Short Round, but that would have been more Hollywood than realistic. Probably.
Yeah, right. Thank you.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
This was, you might dislike it. I disliked it too.
And I fucking hate that Short Round that Short Round died.
And that's why
it hurt me. That really bad.
That's why he had to die.
Yeah.
Because that's what war is.
Mm-hmm.
War is hell.
Here's the thing, though. It killed Iron Mike at the same time. Like, he was dead after that.
Kill him
when Short Round was dead, he was dead too.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And
but see, it wouldn't have been the impact if the sergeant died versus the others.
You're right.
Right.
You almost expect him.
You did almost expect it. Yeah.
Yeah,
he would probably sacrifice himself for Short Round.
The doc survived, and the bald head the bald headed guy survived as well.
Right.
Well, yeah. So we are a 4, a 4, a 4, and a 3.5.
Yeah.
It's not too bad. It's
but
good
before
overall.
we end our episode, we're not done yet.
This could be worth another whole episode. So
it really
see how long this gets.
We're gonna try to keep this a little bit short.
Man, that's tough.
What are your favorite war films.
Yeah.
Andy, why don't you start off with
Just go maybe
start us
top
off.
5 each.
Yeah, top five,
Or,
top five.
yeah, top 5, and we'll count down.
Well, I mean, this is in no particular order, but of course, Saving Private Ryan has to be on there.
Yep.
I'm gonna cheat a little bit.
Mhm.
I know it's not a movie, but it might as well. The quality is there of a movie. And I'm gonna say Band of Brothers.
Oh,
Okay.
I didn't think about that. Yeah, you're right.
Solid.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, it's a war movie.
Yeah. I mean, I know it's a miniseries.
It is, but it's not.
Yeah,
It's
I
the same
think
time.
that's okay. Yeah. Yeah, I was thinking about cheating on genre, and I admit I did a little bit of we did a little bit of discussion reconnaissance ahead of time to say what counts as a war movie, and I think you defined it. I mean, you can go ahead and say what you said.
What I was thinking,
but yeah.
here's what my thought was, and if you cheat on this, it's okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But your
But I wanted-
definitions were fair.
I was
in
saying
my
like
opinion.
American war films that were like that had conflict in them. So, so we're not gonna go like Braveheart, because that's a war film.
Because
but
that
that's
was
not,
one
like,
of the first
that's
things
not
I asked. Is
yeah.
right, but it's not an American war or a conflict that at least America was involved in some
Bingo.
way.
Yeah.
And I'm also one I didn't ask. I'm going to cheat on when we get to me. But,
So
but
Daniel's
it's
gonna cheat.
Okay.
I'm going to cheat, but you're going to say it's absolutely going to count.
And technically, I cheated too.
Okay.
Yes, because there's one. We're each going to name at least one fictional war movie.
Okay.
About a movie about a fictional
So you
war, in
have
other
you
words.
have Band of Brothers,
So it's
you
not
have
really
Saving Private Ryan.
Okay, it's 2.
What are what's another one?
Platoon.
Platoon,
of
good
course.
call.
Okay.
Yep.
What was the other 3 or the other 2? I really like U-571.
Mhm.
Oh, I didn't think about that. Yeah, you're right.
It's
That's a
and
good
it's
one
submarine
too.
movie, and
Mhm.
it's what else?
I'm actually surprised. Like the stuff that you have on your list is not on my list.
I know, right?
Oh, that's good.
Outside of Saving Private Ryan.
Yeah.
This is going to be good in terms of the differences here.
God, what's the?
But we can come back to it also. One of us
Yeah.
might name it. It's always possible.
Hacksaw Ridge.
Good. Oh, good. Well, that was right on the border of my top
Okay.
5, clearly in my
All
top
right.
10. So I'm glad you mentioned that, and
That's
I can easily name it.
That's based on a true story.
Yeah.
Yes, it is. We were
Exactly.
talking about that. Yeah, an intentional conscientious objector who I believe was Seventh-day Adventist, something
Yeah.
like that, but who went in anyway as a medic, would not even touch a rifle, let alone use one, and it was a
Mhm.
fantastic story, and like you said, a true story, and I
That
think
was
a
a
very
good-
well done movie. That
Yeah.
was right on the border of my top 5. So
Actually,
I'm
you
really
took
thrilled
one
you
of
mentioned
mine.
that. Yeah,
I was going to say that.
you're gonna say Hacksaw Ridge? Oh, well, good man, because
Yeah.
that was also sitting between 5 and 6.
Are we at our? Do we need to reset? We're good.
We're good.
Okay. Dan, why don't you go with your list?
All right. So I'm gonna have a few. I'm delighted you said Hacksaw Ridge.
So that's
Because
on your list, obviously.
that was the one that I'm looking at my top 5 and sitting in front of me. That was the kind of traditional war film under the genre definitions that we laid on ourselves. The others are either great well-known movies. One or two of them might not be, but they're also
You have
slightly
you have some
stretching.
docs on your list.
They're slightly
right?
stretching the genre.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Get some documentaries on his list.
And so,
Yeah.
but the documentary is hard to argue,
I can't argue
against
with those.
them.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'll go 5 on down and count down. So number 5 is Glory. Is just okay. The Denzel Washington movie about the original Buffalo Soldiers of the Civil
Can't
War.
argue with that one.
That's hard to
Yeah.
argue about. That's a classic movie and well done.
Put that on my
Realistic, yeah. Glory's there. Okay, number 4 is a bit of a stretch. It's a great movie in terms of how much conflict is shown because it's not much, but it's everything besides conflict in a war. It's one we didn't mention, The Great Escape. Okay, and I knew I was going to get
That's a POW film. I wasn't
Yeah.
thinking of that, but yeah, you're right.
Neither was I until it just popped in my mind of conflict
I think-
war
God
movies
damn it.
without too much conflict. Oh yeah, you're gonna okay.
Well,
I love that
also,
movie.
if just doubling back a little
Yeah,
bit, if,
please,
if I didn't cheat and put Band of Brothers, I probably would have put a Glory as well.
Yeah.
Band of Brothers is
But
not cheating.
It's I know.
It's not.
Yeah, I'm going to stop here and before I go 3, 2, 1, which are now a little more clear, and say 2 or 3 honorable mentions just because they don't fit the category, but they're ones to think about for a future episode, maybe an episode discussing what counts as a war movie or not, and you're going to get a kick out of this. The honorable mention goes to Forrest Gump. Thank you very much. We'd have to exactly. It's a discussion
You're
of an
right,
episode
okay,
all on
all
its
right,
own, so I
you're
just
right,
wanted to mention that. That was
He goes to Nam. He goes to Nam.
that was the right, exactly.
Vietnam.
You're right.
Nam.
That was the main one. Yeah, I want to tell you about Vietnam,
Fucking Nam.
and this is all I had to say about that.
That.
Yeah,
That's all I had to say about that.
but anyway, okay. Number 3 is number 3 is also one that I just thought of, an obvious one that I missed. This is the one, a fictional war, but probably the most accurate version of a fictional war, even though it's tongue-in-cheek, that I've ever seen. Starship Troopers.
Okay.
Starship Troopers.
That is okay.
Yep.
Technically,
Now,
that is an American war film.
It is technically an American war film.
Son of a bitch. Fuck you.
it
Man.
was-
Like,
thank
you're
you.
like a little.
Yep. I thought of a few late that I said, oh, yeah.
Leave it to the Jew to come up with the loopholes.
Exactly. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Yep. That was a sci-fi book, by the way,
Right
which
on,
is
right on, dude.
by Heinlein, one of the great sci-fi authors of all time during the golden age of the 1950s. So he's writing this pretty much based on World War II.
Yeah.
And yet it's, wars in space.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
Son of a bitch.
so yeah, but no, absolutely. I mean, shows conflict more than almost any other war film that you
You're
can
right.
say, and really
Okay.
hard conflict. Yeah. Okay. Number 2, also a bit of a stretch, but very important, I think so, is Inglourious Bastards.
Okay. All right.
Not doesn't show that
No,
much
that's-
conflict.
That's not a stretch.
It's
on a
tongue in
true
cheek,
story.
but it's absolute right. It's absolutely
guerrilla
right.
tactics.
It's a true story. The version it's not really based on, but the closest real life
exclusively
right. The closest real life
that they're gonna admit.
story that they turned into a movie that Inglourious Bastards is based on is called Defiance, and that's actually the story of the guerrilla war
Right,
partisans
that's
in Jews.
Daniel Craig.
Craig and
That was
Liev
a good
Schreiber.
movie.
Liev Schreiber. Thank you.
Right,
Yeah,
that was a good
right.
movie.
Yeah. And so if you ever want to know about the partisans, as in the Jews who both escaped and or avoided the concentration camps and really fought out of the depths of the Black Forest in Germany, really as guerrilla fighters, watch Defiance. And number 1, I just don't think it can go to anything other, despite it being a documentary, than Ken Burns' Civil War documentary.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
Because
yeah.
really, obviously, it's an entire series, probably 10 plus hours, maybe even 15. But I just think the best portrayal, you don't even have to say most accurate because it's a documentary, but the most intense and just well-produced cinematic war movie that I've ever seen and probably will ever see.
Okay.
So
All right.
that's my 5. Darrell,
Mr. Santa, Mr. Darrell,
Oh,
how about
let's
you,
hear it.
buddy?
I've left off some of the classic war films. I had to because I could only
There-
choose 5, so I want to hear some here.
I know this is hard for you.
This is extremely hard. I mean, I can name off probably 15 of them right now.
Yeah, I know.
Easily.
I know.
And they all hold real meaning to me. I mean, every time I see them or come around, I watch
If
them.
you have feelings,
I have feelings for them.
I know you do.
I'm not going to put them in any kind of chronological
That's fine.
order.
You don't have to.
because-
No, yeah.
Because I can't.
No.
I really
No
can't.
ascending or descending order.
No,
you don't have to.
Now, a couple of them that you've mentioned is on my list of the ones I
Yeah,
do.
you said Hacksaw Ridge, which is great. 'cause that
Hacksaw
was
Ridge
right.
is one
Yeah.
of them. The Pacific and Band of Brothers is very
Yeah.
good.
Oh yeah. Yep.
I'm going to throw a couple that you may not have seen, but should.
Okay.
Sergeant York.
Thank you. I'm so glad you said that.
I haven't seen it yet. I
Yes,
know I will
you need
see
to see
it.
it.
I will see it.
Yes.
It's on my
I don't think
list.
I've
Classic
ever heard
war
that one.
Now,
Really, Sergeant York was the
Gary Cooper,
premier
right?
World War One
Yeah.
American war hero, as what's his name was in World War II. There was one famous.
Oh, damn.
I'm blanking on this. I almost said Archie Bunker's name, but yeah, right. But
Patton?
no, not Patton.
No.
No.
That's gonna be on my
this
list.
was
by the
just
way.
this was just a
That's a good one too.
That's a good one.
Yeah, it's just as a private who worked his way up. Anyway, you guys can help me out in the comments. But yeah, Sergeant York was the, premier poster boy World War One hero.
Okay, all right.
Okay.
And that is a true story.
So you
And
have
that's true
Sergeant
story.
York on your
He was
list.
a crack shot. That's
Okay.
why he was
I
a
see.
famous
Okay.
both sniper
Yeah,
and
sniper.
scratcher.
He
Yeah,
used
yeah.
to hunt turkey at home.
Exactly, and he would shoot the eye out to
Yeah.
save the meat out of
Say
the
the
animal.
meat. Yeah.
Yep.
Mm.
And I wanted to throw that one in there
Yeah,
because
glad
it's
you-
an oldie.
So
but a
glad you
goodie.
said that. That is a goodie.
It really is.
Yeah.
I really enjoy that one. I get a kick out of watching it.
I haven't seen it yet, but it's on my list.
Mhm.
Got to see it.
It's on my list now.
Yeah, it should be.
And then when you mention the prison movies, I mean,
Yeah.
there's like 6 of them.
There's a
that I
bunch of
can
them if
think
you
of.
include those. Yeah.
Of course, The Great Escape is the classic.
Mhm.
Of
Out
course it is.
of almost all of them.
Mhm.
Mm.
But don't forget Ryan's Express.
Ryan's Express.
You
I haven't seen it.
I
Haven't
don't
even-
think I've heard of it.
Yeah.
That one is with Frank Sinatra, and he's captured by the Italians and put
Yeah.
into a prison camp.
Get the fuck out of
I
here.
thought we were going to go to the Dirty
Oh,
Dozen
it's-
there, but
it's
yeah,
good.
Yeah.
which
Well,
also
you're
was,
taking another one
Yeah,
of my
oh, well,
thunders
sorry.
away.
hey, I could only name 5 too. Yeah.
If we were, if we were also
If we
allowed
went to 10, that
if I
would have
knew
been
that we
on there.
could,
Sergeant York was on
yeah.
there. You can see
yeah,
the
if,
list.
if I knew we could also include prisoner of war movies, then I
That
would.
changes
Oh,
things.
absolutely.
Yeah, then I would probably have included Unbroken. The Louis Zamperini
good
story.
call.
You know, I
Solid 17.
really didn't like that movie.
Oh, you
You
didn't?
didn't like Unbroken? Oh, yeah.
No.
Interesting.
I really didn't. I didn't.
Interesting.
Ooh.
We can get into that another time.
Yeah.
Okay, that's fair.
But if we're going to stay with that genre,
Well, you didn't mention Dunkirk, and you said you didn't like Dunkirk either.
No, I didn't
I'm
like
kind
I,
of
you hated Dunkirk. I,
didn't
love
like
it.
the new Dunkirk.
Interesting.
I
yeah.
love
Yeah,
Dunkirk.
Because
I'm
it-
in between.
It
I
didn't
like certain
show
parts,
the
but-
truth.
Oh.
Okay.
Oh, shots
Oh.
fired.
Yeah.
Oh.
Okay.
Because the biggest thing about Dunkirk is what? The rescue.
Rescue. Yeah.
They did rescue those people, though.
But what did they show on Dunkirk? Very little.
Mm.
Okay.
None
Well,
of the
now,
backstory.
now I had to watch the original still,
Okay.
Mhm.
but I'm just saying I still like Dunkirk.
No, that's fine. That's fine.
I liked it.
Another one is The Devil's Brigade.
Oh,
Okay.
I forgot about that.
I've
Yeah,
heard of
that's
that.
good.
I've heard of that movie, but I've
Mhm.
never seen
With Burt Lancaster, right?
No, that's with oh God,
William Holden.
I can't think of his name. He's a big star anyway.
Hmm.
No, Burt Land is not in that one.
It might be William Holden.
William Holden.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
he's in that one.
I don't. Maybe I haven't seen that one yet.
Oh, it's good. You'd know it.
Mhm.
Of course, we mentioned The Dirty Dozen.
Yeah.
Classic.
Mhm.
I'm going to throw a couple more out there.
Yeah, please.
Kind of blow your
Go for it.
Bridge over River Kwai.
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course.
Like
Got
no
it.
one mentioned the pairing, at least in my mind, the pairing of the Bridge over the River Kwai and Platoon,
Right.
and the second pairing. Sorry to take your thunder of the World War I, realistic but also Hollywood, slightly corny movies of Tora 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 and Gallipoli.
Okay,
Those
I'm
two I
gonna-
pair in my mind.
That's one of mine that's
Yeah.
in there too.
Or
Is
All Quiet on the Western
Front. Tora,
the
yeah.
original,
yeah, the original one. Yeah,
good one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or All Quiet on the Western Front.
Very true. That's right. No one mentioned
Mhm.
that. Yeah.
The
I don't think I've seen
Hacksaw Ridge,
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
excellent movie. Hamburger Hill.
I haven't seen that.
No, neither have
Yeah, I
I.
heard the title, never seen them.
Right.
Yeah. That's with God, my brain's going dead.
Mm.
Thinking of these stars. Great star.
Mhm.
You've got Midway.
Mm.
Oh,
Midway,
of
oh,
course.
yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
That's,
Yeah.
I hadn't thought about
Excellent
that.
movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You've got well, we did Hear From You Eternity.
From Here to Eternity.
You gotta
sure.
have that
No,
in
we were
there.
talking about that earlier, but we
Right.
haven't mentioned it yet.
So
here.
Hamburger Hill is with John Cheadle, Don James, Dylan McDermott, Michael Boatman, Harry O'Reilly. You know, it's like, so that's Hamburger Hill,
Mhm.
by the way.
Mm-hmm.
Don Cheadle is War Machine, as people will
Right.
remember him.
Right.
That's
as.
probably who you were thinking of.
The other one I like is
How old is that movie?
Yeah, obviously not as old as
87.
87.
80s. Oh, okay, so he's fairly young then.
And then you can go into some of the more looser ones, but they're entertaining. Is MASH.
Mm-hmm.
You also have Run Silent, Run Deep.
Oh, with the submarine movie with Burt Lancaster,
Burt Lancaster, yeah.
and not Cary Grant. What's his face from Gone with the Wind?
Kirk, no,
Brad
not Kirk.
Butler?
No.
Clark Gable.
Clark Gable.
Gable.
Thank you.
Yeah. We can go into. God, there's so many.
He stole a few of mine, by the way.
Hiroshima.
Yeah.
That's with, and then also Green Beret with
Green Beret,
John Wayne.
John Wayne.
Yeah. I haven't seen that, by the way, yet.
Oh, that's another good
I
one.
know it's a good one.
Yeah. The God, there's so many of them. I'm just trying to pick out the better ones, but
He's stealing all my thunder, by the way.
You haven't
Although
mentioned
he
Cast a Giant
he
Shadow.
had like 3 of mine on my list he has not chosen yet. So I'm
Okay.
I'm hoping he hasn't like
see, I'm probably
He's not gonna do
forgetting
it.
Yeah, he's gonna get there.
Probably forget
He's
it.
probably get there.
The Here's Vietnam.
the Robin Williams.
Are you talking
one?
about Good Morning
Good Morning-
Vietnam?
Good Morning
Vietnam.
Vietnam.
Yeah, I
That
haven't
was
seen it.
also.
I actually have never seen that. By
Never
the way.
seen
I
it.
like that. Yeah, that
Oh,
movie's good.
That movie is
movie's
solid.
good,
Yeah.
Yeah, it's good, and it's
Yeah.
based on a true story.
No, sure. Right.
know it
When they
is.
finally broke.
Actually, the actual guy, Adrian Cronauer, when he gave a talk, and he said like the reason why he came up with like the whole like good morning, that was him. Like, cause he'd get there late, and he would like try to like pull like records and get his materials ready.
So he was literally stalling a few seconds.
He was stalling
that's
for a few
funny.
seconds.
Is that also like? Do you think that is like where Spike Lee got like with Do the Right Thing? Like the radio guy.
Mm-hmm.
Like
Oh,
he's kind of
probably,
doing
yeah.
the Good Morning Vietnam thing, isn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Must
Sure,
be.
yeah.
It kind of feels like that version.
It's that
'Cause
same long.
like I said,
intro.
I know the tropes of Good Morning Vietnam, but like
Yeah.
I just had never seen the film.
Right.
Mhm.
You've seen it without seeing.
Bingo. Yeah, exactly.
The other one is 20 Minutes Over Tokyo.
Oh.
Haven't seen that either.
I heard the title. I just-
Mhm.
I haven't
Mhm.
seen
That's
it.
about the atomic bomb.
Yeah.
The other one, and I can't think of the darn name of it, which bothered me, is the one I mentioned earlier with the Korean War with John Wayne in it. He's a jet pilot.
Please tell me that film because I want to watch that.
Yeah, we'll figure out
I'll
which
look
one
it
that
up.
is.
I think I may even have it at home. I'll
Mhm.
have to look. Because not only that, they had an emblem that they had on the back of their jacket, which had the Chinese flag on it.
Okay.
Oh, one of the other ones though is Flying Tigers.
I haven't seen that either.
Yeah.
Again, I've heard this title.
I've heard the title. I've just
That
never
one's
seen
a
it.
Korean War.
Yeah, I know. I just never seen it.
Oh God, there's so many of them.
Did
We
you
already did Run Silent, Run Deep.
Right. Yeah.
We did Dan the Torpedoes.
Yep.
Haven't seen that either, but I know of it.
That's good. Yeah.
Sea Wolf.
Haven't seen it either.
Mm.
Bogart.
So, so I have another Bogart film like from on my list.
Mhm.
Oh, good.
Okay, so
All right, let's hear it.
Yeah, let's
Robert.
hear my
Let's
list.
hear yours.
So I have this is also in no particular order.
Mhm.
You guys have, I'm sure everyone has Saving Private Ryan on their
Mhm.
list.
I did.
yeah.
Of course,
I did.
it's on my list.
Mhm.
Paths of Glory is on my list.
Mhm.
That's a good one.
I love that film. Sahara is on my list.
yeah.
That's a Bogart film.
Mhm.
I like Platoon is on my list.
Mhm.
Full Metal Jacket is on my list.
Good, good.
You didn't mention that one.
Mhm.
It's because really
No one talked about Apocalypse Now. I'm shocked.
Yeah, we're waiting for you.
Yeah,
We
I
knew
know,
it was
we're
on
waiting
your-
for you.
Yeah.
Okay,
That's-
Apocalypse
I
Now is
left
on my
that
list.
one for you because
Yeah.
I knew you were going to come.
Right.
across.
Yeah.
That one I
You had mentioned
I
a
think we all knew that.
Yeah.
We
that
had
was gonna
mentioned
be
a
on Rob's
preview of
list.
some
But
of
you
his, so I
see-
left that one.
But you
Yeah.
see, there's 3 or 4 films that I don't like because
I know you
it
don't.
touches buttons.
Right.
Platoon,
Apocalypse
Now,
Now,
and Full Metal
Full
Jacket
Metal
are gonna
Jacket
punch your.
and Platoon.
Yeah,
Yeah.
of course.
Are
I
hard
understand
ones
why.
to watch.
So you talked about one of mine, Run Silent, Run Deep. I like that
Oh,
one
yeah.
a lot. so I like Dunkirk a lot.
Mm-hmm.
That's a great film.
Mhm.
For me, that's a great film.
Mhm.
I know the remake. So I didn't know that there was a original to the one that Christopher Nolan did.
Mhm, mhm,
Darrell hated the Christopher.
Yeah, I hated the review.
That's fine.
mhm.
I understand why.
The old one is all about the war with the British, in.
I haven't finished that version yet.
Okay.
So I will. I'll watch that one.
That's
We'll
more of
revisit
a
that.
realistic kind of like. Well, it's well done, but it's an English film,
Yeah.
so it's kind of.
So if I was gonna choose like war films that were based off of each war.
I'm surprised you didn't mention Patton.
Oh no, Patton's on my list.
Oh, okay.
Oh yeah, no, I'm not
I
done
was
yet.
waiting for you to
Yeah,
say
no.
it either. Right.
Patton is one of my favorite. One, it's my grandfather's favorite film.
Mhm.
It's also one of my favorite films.
It's good.
But if I'm gonna go through each war, there's the Patriot. I like the Patriot a lot.
American Revolution.
Civil War is glory.
Yeah.
Mhm.
World War One is gonna be Paths of Glory.
Mhm.
And also, since you're going to pass over it, and I ran out of spots on my list, the second documentary was just missed is "They Shall Not Grow Old," the Peter
Right.
Jackson
Bingo.
World War One.
That is a brilliant
That is-
documentary that
yeah.
everyone should watch.
yes,
Mhm.
amazingly restored footage.
World War
Actual
II.
World War One
I mean,
footage.
there's so many.
I know.
So everyone's gonna say like Saving Private Ryan. I really like Force 10 from Navarone,
Yes.
Yeah.
the remake of
That's my
Guns
other
of
one.
Guns of
Navarone,
Navarone. Yeah.
Mhm.
which is also a great film
Yeah.
that everyone
I
should
like
watch.
the first
Gregory
one.
Peck.
I know you do. I love it too,
Mhm.
but I just Carl Weathers and Harrison Ford in that film,
Mhm.
chef's kiss.
Mhm.
Vietnam War, I'm gonna go probably Apocalypse Now is the best one, but like you can't go wrong with Full Metal Jacket or Platoon.
Big Red One.
Or World War II. Sorry, I didn't mention this. Big Red One. That's one of my favorites
Mhm.
that no one talked about. That's also because we did the Steel Helmet. That's the same director,
Right.
and that's his story. That is actually like his autobiography of like what he dealt with in World War II.
I think we mentioned Green Beret.
Yeah, Green Berets, and that's a good one. Another great Vietnam War film that we've covered on the podcast with and on Nocturnal Transmissions is was the one with the Mel Gibson. What's
A Vietnam War one?
Yeah, it's We Were Soldiers.
We Were Soldiers.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
that's a good one.
That one I can watch.
Yeah, we also did like what was it? 13 Hours is like another one. Like it's a more modern one.
We watched it, but we never. I don't think we ever
did
reviewed it.
Did we not?
Yeah,
did we not
we
cover
watched
it?
it. We watched it with James, but it wasn't for the.
Oh,
Yeah.
we should have covered that.
Mm.
Okay, we're gonna have to next time we have James on, we're gonna cover that.
Okay.
Yeah, because that's that's a good film
Mhm.
that we need to cover.
Yeah.
But yeah, like it's so. I would say like I have a big range of film. Like I said, when World War II, we could do just a whole top 10 on World War II
Oh,
films
yeah.
in general.
Yes, we could.
It's really tough. This is a very tough list. You have like hell, you could do it on like Vietnam films. There's a top 10 there.
Mhm.
There's a top 10 on World War II.
Mhm.
There's possibly a top 10 on Civil War films because there's a lot of films that are like around that time.
Right.
Like you could say
Oh, yeah.
The Searchers is kind of a Civil War film. Good,
Yeah.
Bad, and the Ugly is a Civil War film.
Mhm.
If you want Gettysburg,
Good call.
Gods and Generals.
Mhm.
Yes.
That's a good
Gods
film.
and Generals is good.
It's a fucking great film.
Yeah.
You know, there's one.
Have you another one too? Is General's Daughter.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
That
with
one is-
James Woods.
Mm-hmm.
There's an era we've kind of glossed over. We've talked about it, but not in terms of war films. Is the modern wars, such as the Gulf Wars,
Yeah,
etc.
Desert Storm.
And one movie, Desert Storm, yeah, and one that I really like and just completely forgot about until just now is Bradley Cooper in American Sniper.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Three Kings
Okay.
is another one.
Yep.
Three Kings is another one.
Jarhead.
Jarhead.
Fuck Jarhead. That movie is like I had a really bad experience in that one, but I think it's a good film.
Yeah.
But it's like You have
Kings,
Hurt
though, I
Locker.
forgot.
That's another
Hurt
one.
Locker, yes.
I have Hurt Locker.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, Hurt Locker.
Mm-hmm.
That was good.
That's filmed by a woman, by the way.
Catherine
Yeah.
Bigelow. It's Cameron's
Yeah.
ex-wife. Yeah.
Yeah, she's the one that did the Point Break.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And she was the first.
Also a great film,
yeah,
by
yeah.
the way.
Yeah.
She was the first best director female winner.
Yeah.
As far like, I'm not a huge fan of like female directors, but she's one of the best because she's made some really good films.
Yeah. Catherine Bigelow knows what she's
all
doing.
The credit to Catherine Bigelow.
Right.
Catherine Bigelow is
Well
pretty
deserved.
good.
Yeah.
I'll give her a lot of credit. She's done some great stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's there are some good modern war films, but like, obviously like the big one, obviously like the big.
The big era is World War II.
World War II
And
is going to be
Vietnam,
your biggest.
especially.
Vietnam's another one. I would say Civil War is probably the next.
Secondary to Civil War and World War One. Yeah.
Yeah. World War One's after Civil War, and then it's
agreed.
probably like,
Korean War
is
right
like
down there,
very low.
It's not so much a war movie, but this one would be on a shaky era.
Yeah.
Oh shit. Red
Dawn.
Dawn.
Oh.
Red Dawn.
Yes.
Red Dawn. Okay,
Yeah,
I'm
that's
okay with that.
I didn't add that to my list because it's like I felt that was
would be a
different.
Cold War movie.
Yeah,
Cold
but
War.
then that would
Right.
also go into Red October.
Hunt for Red October.
Torn
October.
Curtain is another one,
Right.
which is a Hitchcock film.
The other one with
Red Dawn.
oh man, I can't think of the name, and that was a great movie too. It's another submarine movie with modern actor.
Down Periscope. No. Not
I
my
love
list.
that.
I was gonna say I was surprised you didn't mention that. Forgot about it until just now when you said
That's not a war movie, but boy,
It's not,
that
no.
is
Down
fun.
That's
Periscope is
too-
funny.
Right. Sorry.
Well, that one-
too much of a stretch.
That one have to go with Mr. Roberts.
Mr.
Yeah.
Roberts. Yeah. Okay.
But yeah,
Or
it's like
Chaos
war
Navy.
movies are tough. It's tough.
Mutiny.
Oh, Kane Mutiny.
Kane Mutiny.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
But yeah, war movies are tough because there's so many great ones.
Yeah.
And it depends on like the genre that you want to discover.
Mhm.
Do you want to dive into World War II? Do you want to dive into World War One? Do you want to dive into the Civil War?
Do you want to go
Fight-
conflict specific movies or more backstory?
Or do you want to do in
Emotional
like like
thrillers, yeah.
spy thrillers
Right.
in that within that
now,
because
if you
that's
do that. You know my favorite spy
Yeah.
thriller.
Of course. I mean,
Besides Bond,
Yeah. Well,
yeah. So there's
Born.
there's all sorts of like stuff that like you can dive into. These are just some of our favorite films like within like the conflict specific war films. So let us know what you want to do in the comments of your favorite war films, conflict or spy thrillers, whatever. That
and
you
who
feel,
had the best list between the four of us?
yeah. Hey,
You give us your list or your top 5,
And we'll tell you why you're wrong. No,
Yeah.
just kidding.
yeah,
and
exactly.
then we can go back and tell you what we think of those
Yeah.
best 5.
We'll review them for you if you've never seen them.
yeah. But anyways, that is
And just don't forget the new one that I just told you about that just came out.
A devotion.
Devotion.
Yeah.
Devotion.
In terms of
I haven't
Korean
seen it yet,
War,
but
the,
yeah.
the very lacking
That's-
Korean War genre,
Yeah.
there's one that's supposedly very good.
That's out there right now,
Yeah.
I believe, on Netflix or
Amazon,
Yeah.
no,
Whatever.
home
HBO.
HBO Max. It's
Yeah.
on one of the two. Good movie,
Okay.
Good
All
movie.
right.
based on a true story.
All right.
One quick add-on, specifically like Clint Eastwood war movies.
Oh, yeah.
I'd have to put Heartbreak Ridge.
Oh yeah,
Right.
Yeah, and that's kind of like a twofer because like he's
He's acting and directing it.
well no but then because his character got the the Medal of Valor for battling in the Korean War, but then he leads a group of Marines in
Vietnam.
no what's that weekend war thing that happened in like kind of like South America.
Oh, the on
The Falkland Islands one,
Falkland.
where Britain invaded the Falklands.
No.
Different weekend war.
Grenada.
Grenada.
Oh, Grenada. Yeah, that was also right. That was a couple days. Yep, you're right. Similarly.
yeah, that was an afternoon.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep, you're right.
Hmm.
You're right.
No, there's so many out there, and like I said, I like the genre, and there's so many of them out there that are really entertaining and history. You know,
I mean, hell, we could have a whole podcast just on war films. I
Oh,
mean, it's
God,
like there's
yeah.
so many.
oh yeah,
Yeah, we didn't even mention too that probably they don't qualify under our definition because America wasn't really involved except very little on the sidelines. But the two that are focused on creation of modern Israel, Cast a Giant Shadow, which I know
Exodus.
you enjoy, and Exodus. Yes,
Right.
exactly.
right.
So very, well done, especially if you haven't read Exodus the book. I'm
Exodus
a
is
huge
fucking
acolyte,
great.
as you well know. The movie, it is what it is. It was made in 1960, just 2 or 3 years after the book came out. And the movie is, it's a Hollywood flick starring Paul Newman.
Kirk Douglas, I think, is in there.
Yeah, and Yves Saint Laurent is, plays the, non-Jewish nurse. And ironically, she was criticized by the Jews the most, even though she plays a non-Jewish
Fuck 'em.
character and was obviously not Jewish, but so it's a little strange. Paul Newman they gave a pass because he's half Jewish, so it's a little corny, but
It's a good movie. It's a good movie.
right for the time.
The book is great.
It's a good movie, and the book I think should be mandatory reading. It actually, ironically, used to be on the state high school reading list, as in the public school reading list,
wow.
and it's not even mandatory reading in the private Jewish schools, one of which I teach at now, which always
Stupid.
surprises me. Yeah, it is dumb. I
Stupid.
think it should be mandatory reading for high schools.
The other one that's kind of a documentary more than anything is Hunt for Megillah.
Right. I mean, there's a bunch.
Yeah,
There's
there's a bunch.
the recent, semi-recent, about 5 years ago, one they made about hunting Eichmann.
Yeah, that's the other one I saw. Too.
Yeah,
It was very good.
and the semi-documentary about the hunt for Mengele, the boys in Brazil. That's it.
Boys in
That's what it's
Brazil.
called. Yeah, boys in Brazil. Yeah. So
oh,
yeah.
I forgot another one. It's an oldie too. Is Ice Station Zebra?
I haven't seen that either.
It's another one that's pretty
Is
good.
that an Eastwood film?
recognize
That
recognize
is-
the title, never seen it.
Yeah, and
It's an old
Nuremberg.
one.
The
Nuremberg,
Nuremberg
of
trials,
course.
Justice at Nuremberg.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
Justice, that we've actually covered
Yeah,
that
we
on the
covered
podcast.
Oh
That's
yeah,
fucking
good.
great.
Good. Yeah.
We actually
Yes,
had a
it
lot
should
to
be.
talk about with that film.
Yeah.
Well, what you could do is you could have like 3 different podcasts just on dividing the different military ones up anyway.
Right. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's true.
Because you could do comedies, you could do dramas, you could do history.
Yeah. Right.
Oh yeah,
It's all there.
it's all there.
It's all there.
Did we do Saving Private Ryan, by the way?
Yeah.
Oh, that's
Oh,
right. We
yeah.
did do that.
Two of
yeah.
us mentioned it as just around our
Oh,
top.
that's-
Oh no, but we did. Oh, yeah, I think he's talking about
Oh,
if we reviewed it.
on yeah.
Like,
I
we
see
did
what you
review
mean. I
it.
see
We
what you
did
mean.
review.
Okay.
We did review.
That's
Yeah.
a good movie.
Anyways, so those are our lists. There's a lot of war films out there, and whatever film you're interested in,
And
trust me, there's
I
a film
even
about
like
it.
the new Pearl Harbor one too.
Oh,
The
wow.
Interesting.
the one with Ben Affleck.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
That one, I felt the way that you do about Dunkirk is, it was on the right track and then it got
Well,
on the wrong track
If
in
you
a
can
hurry.
like Dunkirk, you should be able to like that one.
Interesting.
Give me-
Okay. I would disagree, but I see your I see your point, and it's a fair point.
I will take From Here to Eternity over Pearl Harbor any fucking day.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
that one was lacking.
Oh, yeah,
Pearl
no
Harbor,
doubt.
But anyways, those are our lists
Mhm.
of our favorite war films. We talked about the Steel Helmet, which I think everyone should watch. I think
Yeah.
that's a great film.
Yeah.
Yeah, we all agreed that
we
should
actually,
be
we
a
all
definite
rated it very highly.
Yeah.
I think we all liked it, right?
Mhm.
You
Right.
would all
Oh, yeah.
recommend it.
Absolutely.
We like the director. I like the director a lot. Samuel Fuller. He's done a lot of good stuff.
Mhm.
We did Shock Corridor on Nocturnal Transmissions.
Mhm.
He's done one of my actually I didn't mention this war film, but The Big Red One.
Mhm.
That's one of my favorite World War II films.
Mhm.
That is a great
Yeah,
fucking film.
It is.
And that is actually the story of Samuel Fuller. That's
Mhm.
his story.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
if you are curious about like the director that we just talked about in The Steel Helmet, and if you liked our review of Shock Corridor, that's another one that you should check out. And it's probably Mark Hamill's best film.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Damn our fighting words when you're talking about Mark Hamill.
I'm sorry.
So, yeah, there you go.
I
right.
love
That's
Star
high
Wars.
praise.
Yep.
I love Star
Yep.
Wars, but this is his best
Yep.
film. Sorry.
Fair.
It is.
Hey, go watch it and prove him wrong.
So those are our thoughts on The Steel Helmet.
Mm.
Those are our thoughts on our favorite war films. If
And
you
really, we have only scratched
No,
the
the
surface
surface.
of war movies.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had a really nice selection, though.
Uh,
I thought we really ran the gambit pretty nicely.
Mhm.
but our guests, Darrell, Dan, where can they find you?
Well, if you have any comments that you would like to send to Santa Claus, you can send
You
them
can write 123 North Pole Drive. No, I'm just kidding. Just kidding.
Turn left at the iceberg.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
You can bring all your comments and everything to this podcast because there's no email at the North Pole, and the South Pole's too darn cold. So send all your requests and everything here, and I'm sure I'll be a guest again, and especially if you're going to talk war films.
Ditto for me if you liked my slightly different top 5 list.
There's no Jew podcast that we have. So
You're going to have to respond here because that's the only choice you have. So send those comments and I'll reply
There's
to
no
them.
dreidel time.
Right, yes. Now, the
Dreidel time with Dan.
Oh, but I forgot. Of course, thanks for reminding me. I forgot my entire top 5 list of the genre about the war on Hanukkah. No, I mean the war of Hanukkah, not the war on Hanukkah. That's a whole nother podcast episode. All right.
So if you want to reach Santa, Darrell, if you want to reach Dan, you can talk to us at Podcast COJ on Twitter and at Letterboxd. And if you want to hit us up on Instagram, Circle of Jerks Podcast. That is where you can reach us. We have a weekly live stream on Tuesdays, Nocturnal Transmissions. We do a movie review. We talk about the news. We talk about various subjects, conspiracy theories, theological subjects, anything you can think of. We talk about it on Tuesdays.
Gas
And-
prices.
Yeah. No, trust me.
We talked to it at
Oh,
length.
yeah.
We talked about it at length.
Oh, yeah.
Mhm.
You think about it, we've talked about it on Nocturnal Transmissions. But that's how you can reach us. So until we have our next episode, you guys have a great time, and we'll see you on the next one.
And thank you for having patience listening to this old man.
Deuces.
Peace.